What's up, Chicago, and welcome to another edition of the Halas Hall Hangover on 4 Star Chicago Sports. I am Bears on Brandon Duplessis. That down there is the crafty Dustin Jones, and the other guy is my twin brother Kyle Duplessis. How you feeling, guys?
Doing good, man.
Feeling good, man. Glad to be here. Another Monday, Halas Hall Hangover. Let's do it.
It feels like a
Talk some
Monday.
fucking Bears.
Yeah, guys, we're going to
Oh,
go
the
over
other
some
guy.
our predictions for Chicago Bears Player Awards, guys. And which game are you most excited for this upcoming season? All that and more after this. What's going on, beautiful people? And thank you again, guys, for joining us for another edition of the Halas Hall Hangover on this slow-going Monday when it comes to the NFL news. But there are some minor news bits for the Bears today, and that is there might be a possible available minority share of the team itself. Kyle, I know that you've read a lot about this. Now, from what I've read is the Bears would first have to buy this 2% share before selling it in order to acquire more funding for the stadium. What can you tell us about that, Kyle?
Yeah, so there was a article written by Bears Wire, Brendan Sugru, and it was about the Bears minority ownership stake that was previously owned by Andrew McKenna, a former McDonald's chairman who passed away at 93 in 2023. He owned 2% of the team, and right now it's still owned by the McKenna estate. The Bears are trying to find a way to get that 2% back to the McCaskies, particularly George McCaskey, in order to sell it. The minority ownership of 2% would be worth around, I think it's $172 million. And the reason they're trying to sell this minority ownership to somebody new is they're trying to get more cash flow to the team in order to continue the Arlington Heights Stadium project. And the Bears organization right now is valued at $6.4 billion. Just recently, I think as recently as May, the 49ers recently sold stake in the team and were valued at $8.6 billion. Minority stake was sold. I think it was worth $250 million. So the 2% by the Bears would be worth around $172, like I said. And then right now, guys, the McCaskies own about 80% of the team. Pat Ryan owns about 18% of the team, and then the Andrew McKenna estate owns 2% of the team. So if the Bears can get that 2% back and sell it off, they will get more cash flow for the Arlington Heights Stadium project. Right now, as you guys know, the city denied the Arlington Heights Stadium project, telling the Bears they don't have any money to build a stadium. So the Bears are looking for help elsewhere as it stands right now.
Dustin, is this just another
anyone
way to
else-
get the reader? Is this just another way to get the reader to flip the page?
Is anyone
or
else
there
just
some-
like super bored? And I just don't care. I don't care until you make a stadium. Show me that it's getting done. Then I want to hear about it. I'm so sick of all this shit, to be honest. I have no control over it, and it's just millionaires trying to find more millions to do this. And I mean, as long as the fans get the best experience possible, that's all that matters to me. If that means Arlington Heights, if that means Chicago,
Well, the cash flow is going to be important.
Whatever.
important to the
they
best
need renovation, so they need to
They need
have an
money.
update of some sort.
They need money.
Sure, it's just like, but at the end of the day, yeah, but like that's for them to figure out, So it's like once I know what they're doing, then I'll be more interested in it. Up to this point, it's just like, okay, 2% of the Bears goes somewhere else, and I just don't care about it. I didn't care when I read it. I don't know. Sorry.
I mean, of the three of us, I go to the most
entertain me.
Bears games, and I know Soldier Field's absolutely a pain in the ass, and I wish the Bears could get out of there as soon as they possibly
Well,
can.
what's-
It's absolutely
Mhm, it is.
disaster in there. The prices are ridiculous. The Bears don't own the concessions, so they cannot control the price of beer or food. The food at Soldier Field sucks. It's absolutely disgusting. The Bears need to get the hell out of Chicago. They need to get to Arlington Heights. Hopefully, if they can find somebody by that 2%, he takes interest in this team, puts money into the team, and they can get this deal done in Arlington Heights. It could be continued, or they could start construction today. That would mean the stadium is ready for what, 2030, maybe 2029 at best. I mean,
Yeah, they clearly need to do something, Kyle. So the
Yeah.
experience at Soldier Field needs
Yeah,
to be
this-
improved. 100%. No, there's no debating that. It's just
Yeah,
about how it gets done and all the red tape stuff. It's not.
The only thing that I'll say about it now at this juncture is you got to start wondering when Kevin Warren's, like you just said, Dustin, gonna start getting shit done. Because I mean,
Mhm.
as of right now, he is failing on this project.
Well,
Now,
guys,
obviously, it's got a lot to do with the finances and whether or not the Bears can get the money to do it. But the
yeah.
Arlington Heights sounds pretty excited to get this thing going. And Kevin Warren continues to say, and you know what? When you give somebody an expectation, that's when the expectation's held over you. If you continue to say to somebody, "We're going to get shovels in it. It's going to be this year and this year and this year and this year," shit's not happening here, man.
Well, I guess that's why these articles are
It's just
important.
the
because
one thing
the
you're
Bears
focused
tried.
on.
That was one of the things that they had on the bill for the Arlington Heights, and Arlington Heights didn't even address it. So they're not going to give the Bears any money. The Bears were hoping that the city of Arlington Heights would give them a loan and help them build the stadium. They're not going to do that. So the Bears have to find cash elsewhere. That's what this article is about.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it shouldn't come out of the fans.
$4 billion to build this stadium. Minimum.
And it shouldn't come out of the fans' pockets, I don't think.
No,
You're a private
taxpayers are done paying for
yeah, and they should be. And you're a $1 billion franchise. Figure it the fuck out and give your fans the best experience possible. And they will then in turn pay you for that experience. That's the way it works. That's how I look at it.
I mean, the Bears have to find a way to make money off of everything. Right now, they're making money off of a quarter of the things that happen when you go to a Bears game and you pay for parking. They don't get that money. You go to a Bears game and you buy a beer. They don't get that money. The Bears need to find a way to create like a mecca.
Who's that on though?
Who's that on, Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle. Who's that on though? Who made that deal?
Ultimately, it's on George Halas, who owned the Bears, who originally owned the Bears and rented Soldier Field. Yeah.
Yeah, they made a bad deal, and they've been in it, and they need to get out of it, no doubt. But I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to see what their plan is and see some action get done towards it, to where I can start really giving. I don't want to be looking at renderings. I want to see what they're actually doing and how they're going to get it done. You know, that's what matters to me, to be honest. I mean, I don't think fans should concern themselves with how the inner workings of how billion-dollar stadiums get built by billion-dollar teams with billion-dollar owners. Like, it's just, you know, like our experience should be what matters. Our experience.
I do, but I'm just, you know, I love the Chicago, dude. Anything that comes out of the Chicago Bears, I'm all over it. I absolutely love it. I love the Bears. There's two times in life for me, guys: football and waiting for football. And if this is the only thing I got to look at right now, is if the Bears can get this Arlington Heights Stadium deal done, so that we can stop driving to Chicago, Illinois, and just parking in the South Lot for $275. And I'm all about it, and
I hope they go to Arlington Heights. Yes,
yeah,
I hope it ends up in Arlington Heights.
I hope somebody buys this 2% majority of the team and are like, hey, you know what, Bears, we are interested in this team. We love it. We love the fact that we now own part of the Bears. Here's $2 billion. You guys do what you want with it. I don't care. Go build your stadium. That would be absolutely amazing.
Real quick, guys. Ron, Breaking News, Bruce, CSP, Phil, Paulo Massino in here. Bears fan for life. Thanks everybody for being here. Hit that like button if you haven't already. We got a bunch of stuff to get into, not a lot to talk about, so we're trying to figure it out as we go here. You guys got anything you want to talk about? Bring it up.
Yeah, well, I know Sean wanted us to kind of pitch three players that we're keeping our eyes on, guys, through these OTAs and really just through the offseason in general before this season starts, guys. And there was an article written yesterday, the projected 53-man roster. So this article written by, I don't even know who, man. Kevin Fishbane, okay, so a Bears writer, projects each player, the position groups, and who. Yeah, I mean, they're all the fucking same, to be honest, man. All these writers are the same.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
The projection of each, it's going to be completely off. But I do want to point out, there's some guys on here that we would probably project to make this roster that are not on this list. He projects to be cut, and I will say this: he's got Tyler Scott on the list. So I want to go over
on which list. The cut, or
he has the projected 53-man roster by position group, and he's got a lot of guys who most Bears fans would probably project to be on this football team. Nowhere to be seen on here. So there's going to be some players that, when it comes to players to watch, there's going to be some players that aren't on this list that I'm going to start to keep my eyes on when it comes to position battles here, guys. But not just position battles, roster battles. I mean, Tyler Scott is on this projected list, which we read from Brad Biggs not but a week ago. Tyler Scott is a projected cut on this football team because with the addition of Luther Burden and Zacchaeus, there's just no room for this guy. And then they have tight end. They have 4 tight ends on this roster too. So
that's all speculation, yeah. But I've never expected Tyler Scott. I don't expect Tyler Scott to be cut. I have not expected Tyler Scott to be cut throughout this entire process. I mean, it remains to be seen, but Tyler Scott brings something to this roster, as we've all said before, that not a lot of other players in that receiver room can bring. So that makes sense to me if you're talking about Tyler Scott.
making the
Brad
53
Biggs
man.
though is pretty. I don't know, man. He's credible. So when he says something that actually Brad Biggs of all the Bears writers is the guy that I pay attention to the most, just because he seems to have a pretty high percentage in regards to projection. But like I said, they're all the same, man. These guys are just me and you with a journalism degree. You know what I mean? But Kyle, what do you think? With three players that you like, well, just three players that you're keeping your eyes on through OTAs, but more preferably that you like to see on this roster or not.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you guys, if you're talking about a mix of Zacchaeus, Devin Duvernay, and Tyler Scott, that's up to the Bears who they think brings them the most value and should be on this roster. I think one of these guys is going to end up on the practice squad, obviously. So if there's injuries, you're going to see him on the roster no matter what. And we all know at some point there's going to be injuries, right? So I'm sure all three of those guys will play for the Chicago Bears this season. But the three guys I'm going to keep my eye on during preseason and training camp is one, and first and foremost, the most important of all of them is Caleb Williams, learning a brand new system under a brand new head coach, Ben Johnson. He'll be playing more under center than he's ever done in his entire life. Detroit ran the second most plays under center last season, and actually had the highest percentage of plays ran under center last season. So, I mean, how quickly Caleb Williams can adjust and how quickly he can pick up the system and adapt is going to determine the success of the Bears in 2025 for me personally. I mean, I think we all know Caleb Williams is the most important player on the field this season. So let's see how big of an adjustment period this is. We saw Jay Cutler struggle in the past with this. We've seen quarterbacks who get a new offense coordinator with new playbook struggle in the past with this. Is Caleb Williams smarter than everybody else? Can he figure this out quickly or faster than everybody else? I don't know. That remains to be seen, but he's definitely somebody to keep my eyes on during training camp preseason for sure.
Devin Duvernay is going to make this roster. You mentioned that earlier because of his return, the kick returning and punt return. He will certainly be on this roster if you were talking between those three. I mean, and Zacchaeus as well. So I think that's why Tyler Scott gets to that.
What if you put Luther Burden in punt return and he blows your mind? Do you need Devin Duvernay? Is he a receiver? Does he slot?
He's more of a kick returner than a punt returner, I think. I think Burden would be a better punt returner with his skills with the ball in his hands for sure. But Duvernay's got straight speed that you want on that kickoff return. I think his spot's pretty safe. I mean,
how many receivers do they have them keeping, Burden?
It should be 6, I would imagine.
They have the guys you've all just listed. They have Luther Burden, DJ Moore, Romadunze, Zacchaeus, Duvernay, and Scott.
Yeah, so I mean that would make sense to me. I expect the Bears to keep 5 or 6 receivers. That would make sense. I never thought Scott was going to cut off this team. I think maybe some people thinking he's on the roster bubble, but I think he'd have to have a terrible preseason or training camp to get cut from this team. I mean, we all know Ryan Poles loves his draft picks. He just drafted this guy, man. He just drafted him 2 years ago. Like you got to give him a chance, right? At least see what Ben Johnson can do with him before you decide he's not a good enough. He doesn't have enough talent to make this roster.
Dustin, what are you thinking about players that might possibly on the bubble of making this roster, but more importantly, guys that you're keeping your eyes on in OTAs? And I don't mean the guys that are going to be there and the guys that they're going to make a big part of this team.
I don't really know about on the bubble, man, but Kyle Monangai, I don't think he's on the bubble, but I think he's a very interesting part of this offseason because I have just never been impressed with Roschon Johnson throughout his first couple years here in Chicago. He hasn't stood out to me. I know Sean, our other co-host, who's not with us tonight. What up, Sean? Is a big fan of Roschon Johnson. And I think Roschon Johnson's going to get that opportunity. But I think Kyle Monangai has just as much of an opportunity if he's able to show that he has some stuff that he – like, with me, it's just like when I watch a running back, I'm like, this guy stands out when he touches the ball. Like, he makes people miss or he runs through people.
Yeah, the eye test.
Eye test. And Roschon has just never passed it with me. Maybe Monangai will, though. Maybe Monangai brings something to the offense that Roschon can't, as well as that power back mentality, in which case he does supplant Roschon with that number 2 running back spot pretty quickly. And I think that's going to be the most interesting thing to watch throughout camp and preseason is can Monangai supplant Roschon Johnson because he brings a little bit more of a skill set to that running back position.
Well, I mean, it's not even just saying, Vernon, you said we all just picked our 3 position battles, or at least the positions we should watch during training camp preseason. Like Dustin just said, my running back is one of my 3 in the running back competition. And I don't think people can say, oh yeah, DeAndre Swift might be penciled as the number 1 on the depth chart, but that doesn't mean DeAndre Swift's not going to get carries taken away from him. When he was under Ben Johnson in Detroit, he averaged 7 touches a game. 7 touches a game. If Roschon Johnson or Kyle Monangai or even Ian Wheeler, who we saw dominate the competition in preseason last year, I'm sure he's going to get a chance in preseason this year as well. If any one of those guys looks like he has, like Justin said, like the eye test, you think, like, man, this guy might be better than good. He might be like a stud, a star. If any of those guys shows that, I think they'll be digging into DeAndre Swift's carries
Well, Kyle,
pretty
Con-
early.
Context is important with that. DeAndre Swift had 99 carries that year with Ben Johnson, but David Montgomery was already there and getting a bulk of the touches.
Yeah,
and then they turn around there's no David Montgomery on this Bears team.
I don't know about that. I don't know
that. Is important.
I think they think Kyle Monangai is going to be their David Montgomery. And remember, guys,
they signed David Montgomery in free agency versus drafting a guy.
I understand, but of all the guys,
big difference.
Of all these guys on this roster, there's only one guy this coaching staff chose. They didn't choose Roshan Johnson. They didn't trade for DeAndre Swift. They didn't draft or add Ian Wheeler as an on.
Yeah, that's a valid point. But if he was a third round pick versus a 7th round pick, that's a little different to me.
But don't you feel like Ben Johnson?
They chose him, but it was their last pick of the draft, man.
But don't you feel like Ben Johnson's made it clear that he doesn't give a shit about how much money you're making or your draft status or anything else?
You're going to earn your spot, 100%. And Kyle Monangai has a chance to earn a spot. And all these guys do.
And in regards to that, Ian Wheeler is actually listed cut in this projection. The fourth running back is Travis Homer, which when it comes to my three guys, I want to turn the page. I want to see an Ian Wheeler on this football team. Talking about an eye test. Ian Wheeler passed an eye test as far as I'm concerned in the preseason last year. That was a preseason, but the guy clearly only made it to the NFL on his physical abilities. He's a freak when it comes to his athleticism.
Not only, he's
the highest, smart guy too. Yeah. He had the highest return rate in college in the NCAA the year he was undrafted, signed by the Bears. But I want to see the page turn on a guy like Travis Homer, a player who's not here, guys. There's a player we've been reading that's doing a positional transition, and that is Daniel Hardy. And they brought him back this year, and he is not on the defensive line or the linebacking core here. He is projected cut. I want to see a Daniel Hardy on this football team, even over a guy like Noah Ogbongbemidja.
Hardy's not a linebacker in this defense. Hardy's not a linebacker in a 4-3.
As far as Fishbane's concerned, he's not in anything.
For sure. But I'm saying if he was making that transition, that would be to an outside linebacker in a 3-4, where he's an edge rusher. He's a big guy. He's not a linebacker. So that.
But he does play. He did play a lot of special teams. So I don't know if.
I have to see the article, Brent. Do they have Chris Williams and
Dominic Robinson and Chris Williams are on there. Zach Pickens is not on the list.
I don't know if I agree with Dominic Robinson over Hardy, but I don't know. I don't know who wrote that article. I don't know if he has like some insight to the Bears
he's a Bears writer.
Well, Ben Johnson did single out Dominic Robinson as standing out in OTAs, right?
He also did talk about Hardy a little bit too. So,
yeah, I love Hardy. Hardy should be an edge rusher. He is not a linebacker. I haven't seen that he's on the depth chart as a linebacker. He does not make sense to me as a 4-3 linebacker, a stand-up linebacker. That makes no sense. He's an edge rusher. He's not a linebacker.
Allen's just moving him around and seeing what he could do, his athletic ability, seeing if maybe he should drop weight or add weight, and they can stick him in a position permanently. I don't know if I don't expect Hardy to be a linebacker when the season starts. And to be honest with you, I hate to go against the guy who wrote the article, but I expect Hardy to make this team. If anything, Zach Pickens and maybe Chris Williams or Dominic Robinson. I mean, you guys, how many times have we heard Dominic Robinson is killing it in training camp and OTAs with no pads on, and then the season starts, and it's like, has Dominic Robinson been on the field this year? Has anybody seen him or heard his name anywhere? Like, I think that guy might just suck. Like, I hate to say it because
he's had enough time to show it.
Yeah, that guy's got more opportunity than Hardy. He's got more opportunity than anybody. He's proven that he's not a good player in the NFL. I think he's just a little too small for that position, or maybe he just have the athletic traits and ability. I don't know, but
he's certainly got the athletic ability and the traits. That's what was so enticing about him when the Bears drafted him. Former receiver, and he made a defensive end.
He made big plays on special teams. I mean, he did. He had an impact on the 2024 season on special teams.
Okay, cool.
But
Hardy made plays on defense. He made plays.
I'm talking about Hardy. Hardy
also had a tendency to draw penalties.
Two penalties on the first play of the game, twice.
He has a tough time controlling his aggression, but I like the aggression. That's what I like.
He can't read the snap very well, guys. Another person I want to talk about, and he's not necessarily somebody I'm keeping my eyes on, but a name that it piques my interest because this could be you want to talk about bad grades for a general manager. A year ago, we're trading draft capital. The offensive lineman, there's 9 on this football team, and Ryan Bates is not fucking on it. And I'm not disappointed about that because I don't project Ryan Bates to make this football team, but you traded a 5th-round pick for this guy a year ago to be a center. That failed miserably. His health wasn't good to begin with, but he can't even cut it as a depth guard on this football team?
I expect
mean,
Ryan Bates to make this roster.
Yeah, he'll be the backup guard.
Yeah, maybe the coaching staff doesn't like Ryan Bates. Ryan Poles does. I mean, they decide they convince Ryan Poles that he should not be here. But as far as I'm concerned, guys, I'd like to see that article. I'd like to see what else he wrote there. But I expect Ryan Bates to be on the roster.
The reality is, if they cut Ryan Bates, it's not going to be a big deal to either of us either. If they keep him,
Well,
or if they don't think it's going to make that big of a difference.
If they do, it only leaves.
I don't care about the 5th round pick, to be honest with you.
If they do, it only leaves two guards on the roster. It only leaves 2 guards on the roster at depth: Bill Murray and Luke Newman. One of them being a rookie, guys, who will probably be.
How can that possibly be?
Like Dustin said on the roster. But like Dustin said a couple of shows ago, guys, I'm gonna expect to start to see Luke Newman taking every rep he's doing in practice at center.
He's the backup center, man.
Yeah, right. So you're gonna.
He's already taking every rep at center. He's taking every rep so far at center.
So your backup guard is Bill Murray. If Ryan Bates is cut from this team, Bill Murray is it.
I don't know that it makes sense to cut Bates. It doesn't make sense to cut Bates with Bates. It doesn't make sense.
And it doesn't look good for Ryan Poles very much.
No, for sure. You keep him. He can be your backup guard. That's okay.
Yeah, we also don't know that.
The contract is the contract.
You also don't know that either. You don't know that that's the. Maybe they think Ron Amagaji is a guard. Maybe they think Braxton Jones is a guard. Maybe you have no idea what they're going to do with this roster at the end of the day. Ben Johnson ultimately will make those decisions.
Versatility is going to be important.
Yeah, and I understand it's cool. These guys write articles about what they think about the depth chart. But at the end of the day, they just have nothing else to talk about, and that's all projections. He just thinks these are probably the guys he likes most.
I want to ask this question from Scottish real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
He says, guys, with Ben Johnson bringing up Dom Robb, as I mentioned, and about standing out in OTAs, is that the first red flag with this head coach, i.e. the same old faces are making the roster? Let me just say that I don't know that it's a red flag, because it might be the same face, but maybe it's not the same result because these coaches are able to teach better technique or get more out of them. I don't know. I think that whoever makes this roster will have earned that spot, and maybe they're not the greatest player, but they're the best player at that position, whether it's your third defensive end or whatever.
You don't have a great team. Right? Like, there's going to be guys on this team who make the roster. You're like, oh man, I wish they didn't make the roster.
But I don't think that's an indictment of Ben Johnson.
No, not at all. He's working with he can only work with what he's got. You know, like it's
it might also imply
a hammer and a screwdriver. Like, I need a lot more than that.
Dennis Allen took these guys down to Florida to do some work on their pass rush, and it might also imply that
Javon Dexter did that.
It might also imply that Dominic Robinson is learning and getting better, but I don't know that
possible.
I don't know that Ben Johnson's going to have all that much say in whether or not Dominic Robinson makes this team. If Dennis Allen, it's a player that Dennis Allen likes, I would imagine he's going to trust the guy hired to do his job. Because this is the point. Ben Johnson hired coaches that he's going to trust to do their job. So if Dennis Allen likes Dominic Robinson, I want him on the football team, because that's supposed to be the difference.
Guys, maybe there's a chance that Dominic Robinson is really good without pads on. Because
he's probably trying harder
in OTAs and mandatory mini camp and all this. They're like, Dominic Robinson looks really good. Maybe Robinson just can't handle playing in pads.
And maybe there's a chance that Dominic Robinson is the best option out of a bad bunch too. Yeah. And then you're replacing him in a year either way. You got to fill out your roster.
Guys, the number one position battle I want to watch in preseason training camp, and I know you guys probably avoided this one due to the fact that it's the most
Ron
obvious.
Says bye Bates.
We've spent so much time talking about it, but how anybody can't put Ozzie Trapilo, Braxton Jones, and Karan Amagaji at left tackle in their position battles to watch, you'd have to be insane. Because if you're a Bears fan, that's the one you should be most interested in. I mean, if the Bears draft a starting left tackle in the second round, that is the best pick in the draft for the Chicago Bears. It's not even a question. It's not even a question. Well, Trapilo he's taken the majority of snaps with the first team unit at left tackle in OTs and voluntary minicamp. If he ends up being their starting left tackle in 2025, that's the best pick in the draft. He was the second round pick, number 56 overall, and he was the 8th tackle taken in the draft. So if this guy ends up being a starting left tackle for once, Ryan Poles is like, I know he's at right tackle in college, but I'm going to draft him, make a move, and it worked. Like, if it works, then this is the best draft pick Ryan Poles has had since he's been with Chicago.
If it works, just him being a starting left tackle doesn't make that the case. He needs to be a good starting left tackle.
Better than Braxton Jones. If he's better than if he upgraded the tackle position in the second round, that's good.
Being better than Braxton Jones is not really solving your left tackle problem. I think it depends on how much better you are than Braxton. Just being better, I don't know if that makes it a great pick. We'll see.
Where would you rank Braxton Jones out of 32 starting left tackles?
22.
20? 2022. So what if Shaquille's
22,
15?
24
That's a big deal.
best. It's a big deal, but it doesn't mean that's the best pick that they made. Not to me. I would like, if he earns that spot and he performs well at that position, then yeah, it's a great story, and hopefully that happens. Honestly, if he excels at the left tackle position, I'm just saying, like, just being the best of an average bunch does not mean that we've solved that issue.
Well, yeah, for sure. And you can't. We talked about this 100 times. You guys can't solve every position.
The left tackle position battle is going to be Ben Johnson's biggest problem. There's no doubt about that. Another thing I
agree with Vizzo here. We need Booker to be better than Dom Rob. Yes, 100%.
Another thing that
big season from Booker.
Yes. We need everybody on the team to be better. We need the ball boy to be better than Dom Robinson.
Not a position battle, but a roster spot battle. They have 4 tight ends, like I stated. This isn't typical. You usually have a guy on a practice squad ready to play. But Joe Wilson, who Ben Johnson's been impressed with, is on this projected roster, guys. And they're only going into this season with 4 safeties. That's a concern for me. First off, I don't think that Hicks nor Owens played very good football last season. Major Burns is a player to watch in OTAs. He's a player the Bears like a lot. He's probably the guy who should have made the draft over any of the other undrafted free agent signings. So would you guys be more comfortable with a 5th safety on this team over a 4th tight end?
Dude, a lot of teams carry 4 safeties. I think you're just uncomfortable with the caliber of talent that they're carrying in those 4 spots. I mean,
and more so,
just carry it.
We have a guy who will probably miss time at this position. That's my biggest concern.
This is why it's so hard to take this article and speculate. I mean, once again, we've already heard about whispers that maybe Kyler Gordon could play safety, so maybe that's a backup plan. I mean, it's just way too early to project the Bears 53-man depth chart. That's, to me,
it's not. It's very much too early. Yeah, I agree, but I mean, again, I think it's pretty normal for teams to carry 4 safeties into a season.
We haven't even established
the depth chart, so I mean, it's hard to speculate on.
Well, let me ask you this: if Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland stay healthy this entire season, do we want to see any of these other tight ends on the field?
I don't need a 4th tight end. No, I don't need a 4th tight end. I need a 3rd tight end.
If they like all 4 of those guys, one of those guys is probably up in the practice squad.
Joel Wilson gets put on the practice squad.
Durham Smythe's going to be on this roster.
Yeah, Smythe's a good blocker, so he's probably going to make this roster no matter what.
But I still don't want to see this guy play, man.
But Ben Johnson is going to want to use him in bigger sets when he's trying to get that power couple of yards. You're going to throw those 3 tight ends out there to block.
12, that's going to happen. 13 personnel. Ben Johnson uses it more than anybody in the NFL. The reason they have 4 tight ends on the roster is because Ben Johnson loves tight ends. That's why they have 4 tight ends on this roster. If one of them gets hurt, you're in trouble. But yeah,
anybody else, guys? Anybody else stand out, or a player that you're going to keep your eye on throughout this mini camp or OTAs? Because I think moving on to
Tyreek Stevenson's a guy I'm going to keep my eye on during the OTAs, preseason, training camp, all that stuff. I'm going to keep my eye on Tyreek Stevenson. I think the leash is short for Tyreek Stevenson. That's just me personally. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they love him. I don't know. But I think the leash is short.
I think Tyreek Stevenson is going to ball out. So I'm going to keep an eye on him for that reason as well. Yes.
That would be the best case scenario.
And Jaquan Brisker's health. Jaquan Brisker's health through this preseason is going to be hugely important. Do we have that entire defensive backfield, those starters intact? Is Tyreek your guy opposite Jalen? Do you have Brisker back there next to Byard? And then you got Kyler Gordon at nickel. And can we get some sustained success between guys that are in there consistently? Brisker is as you pointed out, Brandon, he's the biggest question mark with that. Can he stay healthy? Can he maybe change his tackling style a little bit to kind of preserve himself? But he needs to stay healthy to earn his contract, and that will only help the Bears. So I think that's a big thing to watch, man. Brisker and Stevenson.
And another thing you can talk about, and it's not necessarily anybody to keep your eye on a position battle, but you guys, since he's taken over as GM of the Chicago Bears, Ryan Post, I think, has the 2nd most changes after the 53-man roster is set when everybody else makes their 53-man roster cut downs. So guys where he's like, this is our 53-man roster, and then somebody else cut off another team and he's like, never mind, this guy's on the 53-man roster from the Bengals and this guy's out. And I think you're going to see some of that on the Bears this year as well. I think maybe you're talking about like a Jonathan Owens. He costs a lot of money. Maybe his safety is cut off another team like the Ravens, and the Bears are like, you know what? we like that guy better than we like Jonathan Owens. So let's save some money. Let's go get that guy. I think you're going to see some of that.
Kyle, who's number one on that list? If you know Poles is second, do you know who number one is?
No, I think it was actually the Bengals.
Yeah, another team that's not in the playoffs. That's just that much change. I want stability. I want continuity and like sustainable success with guys that have done it all off season together.
So do I. And the more complete this roster becomes, the less of that you're going to see. But remember, the Bears are in a third year of a rebuild. So you expect to see that. I mean, the first 2 years, of course, you expected to see after 53-man roster cut down.
There's a term. I don't
know. I mean, you guys, our receiving core was Equanimous St. Brown, N'Keal Harry. And I mean, of course, if there's 53-man roster cuts, you're like, you know what, maybe that guy's better than N'Keal Harry.
You forgot about Byron Pringle.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me that they were adding guys after but I agree with you, Dustin.
But the more you see that, the less confidence you have in this team.
The more drafts Ryan Poles has under his belt, you should not be adding men from 53.
But we don't want to be hearing we're in the 5th year of a rebuild in a couple years.
I think if you're hearing that, Ryan Poles probably isn't the Bears GM anymore.
I would hope so.
Let me ask. So is the door? Is the position opposite of Jalen Johnson? Is the door is wide open on that as the left tackle position? I mean, are we talking about Tyreek Stevenson?
I think Tyreek Stevenson has his head and shoulders above the. He has the by far is going to get. I don't think the leash is that short. I think he's going to. They would be like 6 games of struggling before they even consider making a change there. But
I would need to.
I think he's penciled in as the number 2. I just think they expect more from Tyreek Stevenson. I don't think they expect Tyreek Stevenson to be the best corner in the NFL. I think they expect him to be a second-round pick who's a number 2 on your roster and should be good enough to stop the team from completing tons of passes. That's what I think they expect.
Yeah,
he's not Jalen Johnson.
I think Stevenson's job is. I think his starting job is pretty solidified, only due to the fact that the guys behind him. I mean, Terrell Smith. We haven't seen too much of. Zay Frazier's a rookie. He's a young guy. And then you did sign Blackwell, but Blackwell's more used for special teams.
But I think Kyle's more alluding to the fact that if he's having the mental mistakes and the mental breakdowns, and he's also getting beaten coverage often, physically beaten coverage, the Bears will look to make a move. And through training camp, though, I will be, but they 100% know that Tyreek Stevenson gives them their best chance because he is a playmaker.
His upside
plays on the ball. So they're going to try everything they can to get the best out of him. And that'll be interesting to see throughout this training camp if he responds and reacts to the coaching and he gets better because of it, which I expect him to do. Man.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily like I don't think he needs to get a ton, but he just needs to be more consistent because we've seen doses 2-3 game stints of Tyreek Stevenson where he's a very good player. He's a very good player on the Bears.
Ryan, what up, bro?
They just need to see that consistently. Like Tyreek, how can you be one of the best corners in the NFL or NFC for 3 weeks and then you look like you've never played football a day in your life? Like you just keep your head in the game, be consistent, keep your.
That's what coaching is for.
Your ass.
That's what good coaching is for, and I think the Bears have that. So
I think Tyreek Stevenson's going to have a good season as well. I agree with
I do as well.
I think he's going to be – I think Dennis Allen's going to – and Al Harris are going to get him out of his own way, and he's going to end up –
Have you guys seen Ryan Schlanzer before?
I have not. I have not.
All right. This is for you,
What's
Ryan.
up, Ryan? Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining us, brother.
Yeah, man. Hit that like. Make sure you're subscribed. We're here Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays.
Yeah, we got some really interesting stuff coming up in the coming week, guys. We're going to get into some betting. We're going to get to fantasy football. We're going to get into everything. The Bears will be starting training camp in about a month, guys. So stay
we're talking about
this is the boring part of the offseason because everybody's on vacation.
Yeah, let's move on.
Including Sean.
Let's move on from it. The OTAs and the preseason and all that, guys. In regards to the regular season, the NFL obviously hands out their player awards, guys. I know Kyle, you and Sean beat that up a little bit on one of our shows. Go check that out, guys, if you missed it on the Barely There podcast. But we want to focus in on this Bears roster specifically. We're going to project our own player awards for this Bears team.
Ron, we've seen you.
Ron, you say that every show, man.
You know what, Ron? Just
don't do it. Don't do it.
Do it. Golf clap.
I'll do a little one, a golf one. There you go, Ron.
All right,
you got
Ron.
a half a clap.
You happy now, Ron? There you go.
So, guys, we wanted to project who we believe might be the Chicago Bears Player Award winners, right? The MVP of this team, the offensive rookie of this team, the defensive rookie of this team of the year, I should say.
Just rookie of the year because there's only two defensive rookies, so let's just do the rookie of the year or the overall rookie of the year. But yeah, Brennan, get it started and let's just go around.
No, we're doing offensive and defensive, and the way I was thinking about this, Kyle, was like which Bears player has the best chance to actually win that award handed out by the NFL. That's how we're looking. Like,
Yeah, that's fine, but they drafted 2 defensive players, and Zay Frazier's probably not going to play. So, I mean, isn't that automatically Shamar Turner's?
Yeah, potentially. Who knows?
Well, Brennan, start it off. Just give us
unless
one
Tyreek
category
Stevenson
at a time.
does exactly what we just said might happen.
Brennan, go one category at a time. And let's go around the horn. So start with MVP.
All right, so let's go ahead and start. I want to start with, first off, do we think that Ben Johnson, guys, has a legitimate chance to be the coach of the year in the NFL?
Yes.
I think he has the best chance of any Bears personnel across the board for any of these.
You look at MGM Sports right now, their betting websites. He has the best odds to win Coach of the Year.
How realistic do we think that is, and what do the Bears have to achieve in order for that to be a possibility, Kyle?
I think Caleb Williams has to look like a franchise quarterback, and he's getting Coach of the Year.
And you got to have 10 wins.
Yeah, I think your record's going to have to reflect this
9
as
or
well,
10 wins.
because the Coach of the Year is
I don't think 9 gets it done.
It depends. What if he's a 9 win? If
is
the
a
Bears
playoff berth required?
Yeah.
Is a playoff berth required for Ben Johnson to be Coach of the Year?
Yes, for anybody to win Coach of the Year. You look at all the people who are winning it. Nobody's out of the playoffs with 8-9 wins. That doesn't happen.
All right, let me ask you this then: if a playoff berth is achieved and Ben Johnson wins Coach of the Year, guys, does that automatically go hand in hand with Ryan Poles winning Executive of the Year in the NFL?
No, it does not. No, it does not, because there could be the narrative that Ben Johnson dealt with a lot of injury and they overcame it. You don't know who.
But Poles hired Ben Johnson.
Yeah, but that's not.
If the Commanders won the Super Bowl, he's going to the Commanders GM is going to win Executive of the Year. Like if they win the Super Bowl, he wins Executive of the Year. It's not, he added Debo Samuel, he added Laramie Tunsil, left tackle. They drafted Jaden Daniels last year. They put this coaching staff together that would have been back-to-back playoff appearances, back-to-back NFC Championship appearances, a Super Bowl. He didn't win it last year. So by default, they probably would just give it to him. Or what if the Ravens win their first Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson that they've been trying to do for the last 5 years? What if they?
I think that award's handed out prior to the Super Bowl.
The question can be asked differently though, because it's not like just because Ben Johnson gets that award means Ryan Poles gets that award. But if you ask if the Bears have 11 wins after the offseason that Ryan Poles just had as a GM, is he in the running for GM of the Year? Fuck yeah,
sure. He would definitely be in the
running. He is. But just because one happens doesn't mean that the other happens. So the way you asked the question,
that was the question. So the answer to that question is no. Then.
No. You said just because Ben Johnson.
Yeah,
no,
I know. I asked it. So your answer is no to that question. If Ben Johnson if a playoff berth is acquired and Ben Johnson's Coach of the Year, it does not mean Ryan Poles will be Executive of the Year.
No, it does not. No, but Ryan Poles would have a shot at that for sure, right?
Like absolutely, because he hired Ben Johnson. Yeah, and he got a coach that every other GM wanted.
Added a lot of talent to this roster in one offseason as well. So, I mean, he can put himself in the running for that. I think those two guys are probably your best two Bears people that have a chance to win any of these awards this year if the Bears do have a solid season. If the Bears have like a playoff type season, then
Brad Holmes won last year, and Detroit got knocked out the first round of the playoff. I mean,
well, it's a regular season award, yeah.
There's a lot of things that go into.
You got to get to the playoffs
of the year, but yeah, I think another thing that has to happen for when NFL Executive of the Year is your rookie class has to look pretty damn good. You have to make Colston Loveland have to be a good player.
Jaquan Brisker finishing his season would mean a lot for Ryan.
Who was the best rookie on the Lions last year?
The best rookie on the Lions? I don't know. Probably, what's that corner's name?
Terrion Arnold.
Is that his name?
Yeah, and he sucked for most of the.
Was Campbell a rookie last year? No,
it's not just. It's also your off-season edition.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying like it's more to. I don't know.
But it's got to be guys who are added the 2024, 2025 offseason. It can't be like, oh well, Joe. It can't be like, oh well, DJ Moore looked really good this season, so he's Executive of the Year. Like, yeah, DJ Moore was added 3 years ago.
But he made good addition. He made good additions through trade and through free agency as well. It will be a combination of all that.
And I believe Executive of the Year was Adolfo Mensah, right? I believe Executive of the Year last year was
Brad Holmes.
Was it? I thought it was the Minnesota Vikings.
No, it was Brad Holmes. Detroit.
I thought he won it 2 years ago, man. I thought Mensah won it last year.
I can look it up right now, but I'm almost positive it's Brad Holmes.
Well, in regards to player awards, guys, let's start with the MVP. And we could have made this real obvious, and everybody could have chosen who. I mean, the most important.
It's Caleb Williams
football team, but
it's Caleb Williams.
Mine is actually.
It was Brad Holmes.
I'm going to project somebody else. I'm going to project Joe Thuney as the MVP of this football team, and I'm going to project that because if this offensive line can be a top 10 ranked unit.
I feel like this conversation is not. That's not the conversation we're having because Joe Thuney has no chance of winning MVP legitimately in the NFL. He could be the MVP of this football team.
Well, yeah, if you're doing that, nobody but Caleb has any chance because the MVP is a quarterback award. There's no point even doing that because the MVP is a quarterback award.
And Caleb
no player that's not a quarterback is going to win that award, guys. I'll just
Caleb is at +3.
And Caleb Williams is not winning the MVP.
He's at +3,000 to win MVP right now.
Yeah, I think he's 8th.
He's 13th. He's like 13th actually on. Yeah, he's like 13th on that list. But I mean, that's still pretty high for Caleb Williams after the season he had last year, going into a second year. Yeah, I think that's a bet. Those are better odds than I would have expected.
Caleb Williams is going to be the Bears MVP, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, you could throw Joe Thuney out there as like because he's undervalued and underappreciated with what he's going to bring to this team.
Yeah, he could affect the entire line.
Yeah, but if you're talking about the Bear that has the best chance to win MVP, legitimate chance to win it, it's Caleb Williams, and it's not even close. And
plus, even if it's a team, like even a team awards, you would make if Caleb Williams comes out. I mean, let's see. Last year he threw 3,541 yards, 62 completion percentage, 20 touchdowns, 6 receptions, 81 carries, 400. If he improves all those numbers, and the Bears go to the playoffs, just to instill confidence in Caleb Williams and be like, you are the franchise quarterback.
What was his passing yards?
Give him the MVP. He's the captain of the team, man.
What was his passing yards over under, Kyle? That you
Thanks for the likes, guys. Just want to say that, by the way.
This year, I think it's 3,500.
We appreciate that. Like and subscribe, guys.
Yeah, what was the over under on it?
It's right around 3,500 on the pass.
3,550 minus 110 on either side of it, over under. Would you take the under or over on that?
Over.
Kyle?
I'm taking over, no doubt.
3,550 yards for Caleb Williams.
It better damn well be over, or Ben Johnson's doing something wrong, man.
I wonder what the chat thinks. Do you guys think the over for 3,550 yards for Caleb Williams this season, that's an easy over, and you should be slamming that in all your parlays?
I already put money on it, guys.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it should be an easy.
If you
win,
consider
right?
that Jared Goff went from 3,200 yards the season before Ben Johnson called play to like 4,100 or whatever it was after, I would hope that Caleb at least makes a couple 100-yard increase.
Scottish Bears says over, and his over-under for touchdowns, guys, was 22.5 for passing.
Yeah, Jared Goff actually went from 3,245 yards in 2021 to 4,438.
4,400, yeah. So he went 1,200 yards over.
Bruce says over.
I expect Caleb at least gets a few hundred yards over what he did.
I expect Caleb Williams to set the Bears passing record this year for yards. I do.
So he should break 4,000.
39 or something.
So he should hit 4,000.
Yeah, I expect him to be over 4,000.
Eric Kramer said it in 95 at like 39, I believe. Yeah, I think that number's achievable for sure.
But let's just be clear, we all thought that would happen this past year too. we all did. So I think he's in a better situation. I think he's in a better situation this season than he was last.
It's not like he was. I mean, I understand. Yeah, he was. It's not like it was laughable. I mean, he got to almost 3,600 passing yards. I mean, that's for being your first season in the NFL, and you're fourth on the Bears all-time passing list. That's amazing, dude. He's top 5 Bears all-time passer in terms of yards, and he was a rookie and got sacked 68 times. That's ridiculous.
And this is the question that I wanted to talk about. I know we're doing these awards things, but since we're talking about Caleb, I think this is important. I've heard a lot of talk this whole week about like what are the expectations of Caleb, and does he have the most pressure on him of any quarterback in the NFL coming into this season? I think if you're talking like potential to break 4,000 yards, if you're talking about the potential to get 25 to 30 touchdowns, you got the new offensive coordinator who's now your head coach, and Ben Johnson, who's going to completely strip down your play calling and change it up. You got a new offensive line. Caleb's expectations should be high, right? Is he facing the most pressure coming into this season?
Happy Monday,
quarterback
Tom.
In the NFL? Tom G, is that a new one? Have I seen that guy before?
No, Tom, thanks for joining the show, man. We appreciate you. I have not seen
Tom, what's up? I've never seen Tom G before.
Tom, we apologize if you've been here before and we just don't remember, but if you haven't, this is for you, buddy. That was weak.
What you do there?
What the hell? Tom, we appreciate you more.
That's good.
That's for you,
So
Tom.
we can continue on
brother.
We can continue on the awards conversation, but I just want to throw that out there because I think it's worth talking about. I've heard a lot of pundits saying that they think he's under the most pressure, or maybe I've heard JJ McCarthy brought up, and I don't see how that makes any sense. But where do you guys think Caleb ranks in terms of like the pressure cooker that a quarterback's going to be in coming to this season.
I would say
not
number one.
I think he's number one for me.
Yeah.
Michael Penix is up there for me personally.
I think Dak Prescott is under the most pressure in the NFL. I think
he's
the
under a lot.
quarterback always is.
He's top 5 for sure.
Who, Dak or Caleb?
I got Caleb number 1, but Dak's my top. I think I had Dak at 4. I have Michael Penix at 2. JJ McCarthy was 5 for me.
I just wouldn't put JJ McCarthy up that high, given that it's his rookie season.
Well, I mean, just the fact that he has to,
take over a team that won 14
games.
Yeah,
and Sam Darnold looked like garbage, and then he looked amazing on the Vikings. So it's everybody should look amazing on the Vikings.
I would put Dak Prescott and Geno Smith probably in 1 and 2.
My number 3 was Brock Purdy. I think I don't remember.
Brock Purdy should be pretty high up there too. Yeah,
he was my number 3. I think Caleb is number 1, and maybe I'm just a biased Bears fan, and I'm just so stuck in this bubble. But I think, like you said, Dustin,
he was the number 1 overall pick, Kyle.
Yeah, and they said
Jaden Daniels outperformed him last year.
Yeah, and everything they've done this offseason
has been geared towards helping
Williams. Him. Yeah, so they've put him in a position where they believe he should succeed. So I think right now, the pressure is high that Caleb has to succeed.
I would say Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Geno Smith, and probably Justin Herbert as well, man. I mean, if you're not
Herbert's a good one. If Harbaugh ain't gonna deal with him,
he's got to talk about a short. I don't know about a short leash, but he's on a timeline. The hourglass is flipped.
Has a better season than he did last year. He's okay. Caleb has to be like leaps and bounds better than last year.
But Herbert could get moved if Jim Harbaugh ain't gonna deal with it. Caleb is here. He's planted here. Even if he throws for 3,500 yards again, 20 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, Caleb's still here and he's still the quarterback. It's his second year.
Herbert had a good season for having one receiver.
Herbert did, but he also still cannot make the plays in the
Scottish
when it matters.
Scottish Bear, Trevor Lawrence,
and like the guy I was going to bring up as well. Thank you, Scottish.
And like Dustin said, most importantly, Jim Harbaugh has a very specific vision of what he wants his offense to look like, and if Herbert's not fitting
and what he wants his quarterback to do,
he
with
will
the ball.
Move. Yeah, and Dak Prescott, guys, Dak Prescott's been a good player, but if you're in Dallas and you're playing that position, the pressure's always on.
All the quarterbacks in the NFL have a ton of pressure. You can go through Aaron Rodgers needs to be good for the Steelers. Cam Ward needs to be like the guy he needs to show that he's going to be the guy who turns that franchise around. Or is
Justin Fields with the Jets.
Yeah, Justin Fields with the Jets. I mean, Trevor Lawrence and Caleb are very, very
the irony, guys, that
Trevor
Justin
Lawrence
Fields
I'd have high up on that list. It's
Dak, right? Brennan. Dak's up there too, man.
I think Trevor Lawrence is higher than Dak. I think Trevor Lawrence is like, if you don't get your shit together this year, you are not a good quarterback.
Make it or break it.
Yeah, that's this kind of year.
Justin Fields is the Jets starting quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers is the Steelers starting quarterback. Wrap your head around that.
I agree because
one man's trash is another man's trash.
The Jaguars did a lot to help Trevor Lawrence as well. I mean,
they have
to get Travis Hunter. They traded 2 first-round picks to get Travis Hunter. You better have a good season.
I think Caleb Williams is high up there, man. I don't know if I put him number 1, but I thought it was a good conversation.
He's my number 1.
He's right there, man. It's just the fact that it's his second year. It's his first year with his new head coach. You got to give it some time. I don't want the expectations. Maybe it's just me as a Bears fan, not wanting the expectations to be so high that this kid falls on his face. Like, I'm trying to kind of temper him down a little bit as a Bears fan, because you don't want that kind of pressure on your quarterback. But being in Chicago and being the guy that has gone through, you had all the media shit earlier this offseason where Caleb didn't want to be in Chicago. There's a lot of things that are in the mix here.
Well, we're the
only
team.
Ron, we just said that we believe that Caleb Williams will throw for 4,000 yards. Guys, Scottish Bear makes a good one here too. Says, imagine if the pressure on if Caleb Williams, if Flus is still the head coach. Yikes! And more importantly,
I think it goes the opposite way there.
Imagine the pressure. Imagine the pressure if Coleman Shelton and Nate Davis.
Still like the physical pressure, the actual pressure from the defensive line. Yes.
Yeah.
The fact the Bears are the
Tom
only
G says Bryce Young. That's a good one. Bryce Young was the first overall pick in the draft 2 years ago. He's about to deal is running out.
He's going to be benched by week 5. But the fact that the Bears are the only franchise in NFL without a 4,000-yard passer, without a 30-plus touchdown passer, that alone puts a ton of pressure on Caleb Williams, because you're not just asking Caleb Williams to be better than the quarterbacks years past. You're asking him to be the best quarterback on the Bears since 1926.
I think the pressure is stacked against Caleb Williams, Kyle, because he is still
Tom Brady. He just has to be good.
This is the problem. This is the problem with the clout that comes with being the first overall generational talent of a pick, is people want to see it early and often. They don't want to wait for this. Caleb Williams is supposed to be generational. And
And
that
Brandon,
doesn't mean a guy who's slow cooks. I mean, you're talking about the NFL expectation by the fan base, not just Bears fans, is that Caleb Williams
what's up, Sean?
is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
And Brandon,
That's
you
just what it
referenced
is.
the improvement that Goff made from his first year with the Lions without Ben Johnson as his offensive coordinator to 2022, where Ben Johnson took over, and that improvement. You see that Ben Johnson has done it before with number 1 overall pick quarterbacks. You see that Caleb Williams has more talent than what you would expect Jared Goff to have. And so you see those things get put together and a better offensive line put in front of him. And just all the pressure that Caleb's put on himself by being the guy that he is. Like, he does have a lot of expectations to live up to, and I think nobody's putting more pressure on him than himself.
I mean,
I think it matters a lot how he performs this season in terms of how he's looked at and how Ben Johnson is looked at.
Everything you guys just said is why he has the most pressure. I mean, first of all, the fact that we've never had a 4,000-yard passer, never had a quarterback thrown for that. This is where quarterbacks go to die. That alone is pressure, right? You have to take this franchise and bring them out of the fire, out of the trenches. Then on top of it, like you just said, Ben Johnson was brought here. He's a quarterback whisperer. He's supposed to make quarterbacks amazing in the NFL. You just said Caleb Williams has more God-given talent than Jared Goff.
Drafted a slot receiver with the second round pick. Drafted number 10 overall at the tight end position.
Caleb was drafted
added
overall.
Weapons.
The whole offseason was to address Caleb Williams and making him comfortable. He has the most pressure to me of anybody in the NFL.
At the same time,
it's a very easy to make that argument, Kyle.
But at the same time, every time somebody talks about the 2025 Chicago Bears, they proceed it with, this is going to take time. So that would imply that you're giving Caleb Williams that learning curve, the time that it takes to get this system under his belt and become the player that we want him to be.
For what?
A guy like Trevor Lawrence, who's projected to be just as generational as Caleb Williams, that's now gotten the money and still hasn't shown up
on a second contract and has not.
That to me is a higher pressure situation.
Is he not allowed, so Trevor Lawrence is allowed the same adjustment period with a brand new coach and a brand new scheme and a brand new offense with brand new players?
No, Kyle. Trevor Lawrence is past it.
What do you mean? He has to learn a brand new system.
But he's making
bumps in the road.
$100+ million.
Kyle, this is the point. Kyle, this is the point I made when we brought up Trevor Lawrence in the first place. It is a make or break year for Trevor Lawrence, where it is not for Caleb.
I believe Trevor Lawrence will be allotted some mistakes because they changed the head coach and the play caller. I think they're going to be like, hey guys, Trevor Lawrence, we expect him to be better this season, but
then Kyle, that would mean bumps in the road.
We expect some transition problems. We don't expect him to be the best year of his career. Maybe next year.
Well, as you said though, Kyle,
not this year.
As you said though, with the Bears running backs, like none of those guys were the Bears picks, and Trevor Lawrence is not their pick, the new GM and the new head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think if he does not perform, he's a guy they will look to move on from pretty quickly, man. So I mean, that extra pressure on Trevor Lawrence.
Sure, but Caleb
doesn't have that.
Are you talking about 10 wins and playoffs, or what? Like define?
I mean, you're not losing games because of Trevor Lawrence. Your completion percentage is better than 60%. You're not throwing interceptions.
I don't think that's that much pressure. I don't. I think they're like, hey, Trevor, we don't expect you in the Super Bowl. Like, we don't expect you to be one of the best quarterback in the NFL because you're learning a brand new offense, and it's going to be a slow transition. They're going to bring you along slowly and expand the playbook more and more.
They're going to do with Caleb too.
Yeah, and the coaches know. I exclude both those guys the time from the number one
quarterback. Which is why I exclude both of them from the quarterback under the most pressure, because
at the end of the
they are going to be a warranted.
But Dak Prescott's learning a new system too.
Yeah, you can make that excuse for damn near every quarter.
Not really. Yes, his coach was working underneath his head coach. It's the same.
But it's new terminology. It's a brand new. It's all different. It's completely.
All right, listen. I mean, anybody's list is as good as the other. I just think it obviously makes for good conversation.
Brock Purdy was a guy who I think Purdy might be number one.
I put Brock Purdy number one if I'm thinking about it, right? Because he got big
paid
deal.
a lot of money.
The Niners just had a very down season.
Yeah, still has the same coach. He has one of the best play callers in the NFL. For sure. Brock Purdy's high.
To live up to that contract, he's going to be high up there. So I mean, we could interchange a few of these guys. One thing that's for certain, guys, as much as we want to temper the expectations for Caleb Williams and the pressure that he's going to feel, he's in the top 5 of that list.
I just think the fact that San Fran has had successful quarterback play. All these teams you're talking about, the Cowboys have had success. The fact that the Bears have never had a quarterback, and it's like, oh my God, do we have a quarterback? Do the Bears have a quarterback? Do we have a 4,000-yard passer?
Yeah, this fan base. That's a lot of pressure
from the city itself, just from the city alone, let alone the NFL pressure you're going to face. But the city alone is like, Caleb Williams as the number 1 pick in the NFL draft better damn well be, especially since the fact that so many people like Justin Fields. Like, you moved on from Justin Fields, you drafted Caleb Williams. the pressure has been building for Caleb since the day he was announced as the Bears' #1 pick overall. The pressure was monumental.
I think what
and I'm
applies
sure
the
people
most
have that
pressure to Caleb.
conversation with him.
Yeah,
I think
and
what
now
applies the most pressure to Caleb is the generational thing. When you put that title on somebody, man, no
you
matter
just
what
keep
sport it
piling
is,
on pressure.
that's
Yeah, I agree.
that the odds are stacked against you.
well,
man, when
and
somebody-
after a season, a rookie season that's full of excuses, you've had them all taken away. That's a huge part of it too, right? So he was that generational guy. Had an off season where everybody wrote it off as you were mishandled, mistreated. This year, the Bears have gotten you everything that a young quarterback needs.
everything he asked for, really.
Anything that anyone can ask for. So
he
like
asked for Ben Johnson. I mean, so many
excuses are gone.
words. Yeah.
They
So
spent a
that
lot of
pressure
money.
goes up.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money on the offensive line. They spent a lot of money on Ben Johnson. They spent 2 of their top draft picks, or 3 of their top
4.
4 draft picks on offense. Like, Caleb, this is the year. Like, you don't have to prove that you're the best quarterback in the NFL and you're going to a Super Bowl in 2025, but you need to prove that you're a franchise quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, 100%. I think
that's a lot of pressure for sure.
100%.
Yeah,
and I think Caleb's going to be just fine in handling that because that's the guy he is, man. And
I think so too.
It was a great conversation for sure. I think we could probably beat that up for another 2 hours, but yeah, I think
Scottish is talking about Trevor Lawrence. We're talking about quarterbacks facing the most pressure in this.
Yeah, and you know what? I think the fact that Brock Purdy is Mr. Relevant takes a little bit of pressure off him. I mean, I know it's not a lot. I'm not saying a ton, but just the fact that they're like, well, Brock Purdy, like, you guys drafted a quarterback with the last pick in the draft. You expect him to be Tom Brady?
Paid him, Kyle.
No,
Kyle,
they
took
a big risk.
The second contract eliminates that completely. The second contract eliminates that completely. It does. It don't matter.
I don't put Brock Purdy over. I don't put Brock Purdy over.
He's getting paid as a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
I think the Niners just took the biggest NFL risk.
I don't think it's over Caleb Williams. I think Brock Purdy is facing pressure because, to be honest with you, and Dustin, you know this, and I know you're a fight Niners fan, but I don't think Brock Purdy's as good as Niners fans think he is. I think Kyle Shanahan's amazing.
I don't think he's as good as that contract. I'm worried about that contract.
Yeah,
I would be too.
That's the thing is now you're living up, Kyle. Now you're living up to the money.
It's not about where you were picked anymore.
That adds more pressure. Now you're trying to live up to that money.
Part of that is also,
and the Niners just took a really big
conversation every week. Part of the money is the fact that he got paid this year. Like, that's just part of football. Like,
it's going to keep going up. Yeah.
If a quarterback has a winning record in the NFL and he's about to get paid, he's going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. That's just
but they didn't have a winning record.
Well, one season. He said he has a winning record on the Niners in the NFL.
The Niners took a pretty big risk.
Scottish says the Bears and Browns are always going to have
Packers.
The Bears and Browns are always going to have the highest pressure with drafted QBs because of the poor results of the position historically, right? Like
I agree, Scottish.
This many quarterbacks in this many years, like this many different starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, are you just another name on the list?
That's always a highlight at the beginning of the football.
Yeah, like broadcast. At some point, you'd expect one to fall in their lap. How could you go?
Scottish,
it's 100 years in the NFL now. You don't have a 4,000-yard passer? Come on, guys.
They're probably also
ridiculous.
They're probably also the most expected to fail. So.
Well, I don't expect Caleb to fail. I think the pressure is very high for him. He's certainly up there amongst those guys. And that is kind of unfortunate when you think about your second-year quarterback going into a completely new system with a whole new personnel.
The cycle continues.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
You talk about pressure. Look at Caleb Williams' schedule. I mean,
and the competition that you're playing.
Well, that pressure.
Purdy's got a cakewalk. Caleb Williams is playing the best teams in the NFL from week 1 to week 6 of 17.
You guys want to go
on that note, guys?
Awards?
On that note, do we believe that Caleb Williams has a chance to be the MVP of the entire NFL?
No, not
a chance. Like I got a chance to find $100 bill when I walk out my front door. I guess that chance.
How many times have you done that?
But you're saying there's a chance.
But I mean, listen, guys. Joe Burrow last year threw for nearly.
I think Caleb does
nearly 50 touchdowns. I expect pretty much the same out of Joe Burrow. I expect.
I legitimately
think Lamar Jackson actually has a better season this year, in terms of yards and touchdowns. And I think that Josh Allen's going to be amazing as well. Listen, is Caleb going to be good? Sure, he might be great, but he's not beating one of those guys for NFL MVP. Not a chance in hell, guys. That's not fair. Those aren't fair expectations.
I legitimately think he does have a chance to be the MVP because of this. Jaden Daniels.
His pressure is way up there, man.
Jaden Daniels was Offensive Rookie of the Year last year.
All right,
the only reason Jaden Daniels wasn't the MVP last season is because he was a rookie and he was going to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. And we know how that goes, guys. The politics that one cancels the other out. Jaden Daniels was the MVP of last season, if you ask me, but he won Offensive Rookie of the Year instead. They're in their second season now. Caleb Williams has a season that carries this Bears team into the playoffs, even without even going to a Super Bowl.
Brian, you cannot
He
say that
100%.
Jaden Daniels deserved MVP over Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. That's insane.
I think he had a much less
Look at the
talented team.
numbers, man. Look at
I think
the
he was the
numbers,
most
man.
valuable. If you
Yeah.
equate if you equate his production to his team, he had the least talented team.
Yeah, if that
That's-
team had Sam Howell as starting quarterback last year, they were not.
Okay,
gonna be in
well, if Josh Allen's not the starting quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, what's the record?
It depends on who you're. Is it
Give
Sam
me your
Howell?
top
I
three
mean, it's a
three
team that's-
players. Give me the
I mean,
top
it's a
three
team
players
that's
in the
been in the
Buffalo Bills
playoffs,
outside
Kyle,
of
but
James
you got to
Cook.
think, man, it wasn't like the Washington Commanders just needed to plug in a quarterback and it was good. They were bad. They were bad all around. They were bad top to bottom. They were worst to first, weren't they?
The Buffalo
Or no, the
Bills,
Giants were
you
worse.
guys, we were.
I think the
we
chances
were
of Caleb
predicting-
winning MVP are pretty low, guys.
We were
They're pretty-
predicting.
they're
I
pretty
agree. We were predicting
pretty low.
people were predicting the Buffalo Bills to have an 8-win
I'm gonna just-
season
I-
because
I
he was
think
throwing
that
the
they're-
ball to
I think that they're
Shakir
just about
and
where they
all
should
this
be.
dog shit players. And what did he do? He went to the AFC Championship game. They were projected to win 8 games. Their Vegas over/under was 9.5.
You guys know what year? Do you
And
guys
Amari
know what?
Cooper didn't help in any way,
Do
shape,
you know
or
what
form,
year
bro.
Patrick Mahomes won the MVP?
His
He's
first starting
He's
year.
won it multiple
His-
years.
His second
Yeah.
year in the
First-
NFL. His first year
His
that he
first
started
full
every
year.
game.
His first full year as a starter.
He
Caleb
also had
Williams
almost 5,000
on
passing
his
yards.
second.
He threw 50 touchdowns that season. I think.
Yeah,
and 5,000 yards.
Ridiculous.
Caleb Williams is on his second year as a starter. There's potential there, 100%.
Of course, it's possible. Of course, it's possible, but the odds of it are very low.
Plus,
The odds are,
and
but he's clearly the guy that you're going to pick from the Bears.
Brennan,
That
you're
has a chance
talking
to
about
win MVP.
Brennan, you're talking about Patrick Mahomes going into his second season with Andy Reid as his head coach and play caller, and he had a year to sit on the bench and learn. You're talking about
I would
Caleb
make an
Williams, who got
argument that Ben
sacked
Johnson's a
68
better
times.
play caller. I would make an
he's a
argument that
rookie
today
coach. He's a
Ben
rookie
Johnson's
coach.
a better play caller.
Scottish
Yeah, but
says
he's a
the
rookie coach.
Scottish says the QB talent in the NFC ain't great. Caleb has a chance to pounce. He's kind of with Brandon here. I can see the potential. I could go both
All right,
ways, but I'm not betting on it.
MVP's not an NFC award. It's
Yeah,
an
yeah,
NFL
for sure.
award.
I did bet on it. I bet
Yeah.
$2 on
NFL
it.
award.
I bet $2 on that.
Plus
I
3,000 odds.
I parlayed
All
Caleb
right.
Williams as the MVP and Jahmyr Gibbs as the Offensive Player of the Year, and a $2 bet pays out like $2,600.
All right, well, Brennan, here, I'm going to
Good
give you
luck.
Joe Burrow. I'm going to give you Joe Burrow's stats for last year, and Caleb has to be close to these to be considered MVP. He doesn't have to be better because, like you said, circumstances and all that. But he had
Well, we've come to
4,918
find though the
passing
stats
yards,
don't win you the
43
award.
touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and a 70.
Oh,
Yeah, the
we lost time.
stats don't win you the award, but because your team has to be successful too. That's the biggest thing for me, Brandon. If you're talking about Caleb being MVP, the
Kyle, we
Bears
lost
need
you.
Kyle.
Touchdowns.
Yeah.
If Joe Burrow does the same,
Brandon, if Caleb has a chance at MVP, the Bears got to be a top 2 team in the NFC. That's really what it boils down to for me. You got to be one of the top 2 seeds in the NFC, and I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening at all. But I could be.
I'm
wrong.
leaving the door open, man.
For sure. That's okay. Leave the door open. When Kyle gets back, the door's open for him. We'll see how it goes. But
When
I mean,
Kyle gets back, Kyle's right there.
but he's with us in spirit.
Yeah. Look at that.
If-
Look at that. Look at that
if-
face.
listen, man.
Oh, there he is.
If Caleb wins the MVP, you can keep that receipt, but he's not winning the MVP.
The odds of it are low. And Kyle, what I was saying when you were kind of glitching out there, the Bears need to be a top 2 team in the NFC for Caleb to win that award. You
Yeah,
need to be
I
one
agree.
of the top 2 teams in the
I think-
NFC.
I-
Those
I
odds
think
of
I'm
that
more
are happening
saying-
are much lower than Caleb putting up the stats.
Yeah, and I think what I'm being disagreed
Both of
with
the
here,
odds are
though,
very
guys.
low.
I think what you're really saying to me is Caleb doesn't stand a chance to be in the running, and I believe he does.
the Bears have to be a very good team in the NFC. for that
I'll
to be
put
the
Caleb
case.
Williams to finish 8th in MVP voting. How about
That would be amazing. That would be amazing if Caleb could finish there after last
behind
season.
Saquon, behind Derrick Henry, behind Joe Burrow,
Well, if he-
behind Lamar
I-
Jackson,
it would
behind
be- it
Josh
would be
Allen.
awesome.
I'll put him in. Behind
It would
Jamar
be
Chase,
awesome.
who had the 17th Triple Crown in NFL history since 1932 and didn't
It
win
would
that
be
one.
awesome.
A quarterback is going to win that award, no
Yeah,
receiver.
exactly. And
It would be awesome, but it would also-
Saquon was number 3 in the voting.
It would also be what
Yeah.
Caleb. It would also mean that Caleb's the player he was drafted to be. That's what
I
it
just
would.
expect Caleb to be good. I'm happy. If Caleb's
Guys,
good, I'm happy.
Ron's got some
Yeah.
breaking news here. Ron's got some breaking news, everybody. Packers still suck. Thanks, Ron.
This just in.
Our Packers correspondent, Ron Winarski.
Ron, I love you. I love you, Ron.
That's a-
But that news came
yeah.
out like a century ago.
It's still breaking.
They always suck.
Okay. So do we need to do offensive player of the year? Because I feel like that would still be Caleb Williams in this conversation.
Well, I did it anyway. I just, because in case they're like, we're not going to give the same guy both awards, I got DJ Moore.
I would take Rome Odunze if I was going.
Yeah, and I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Well,
I would say in the running, there would be no chance.
DeAndre Swift. No?
If Colston Loveland had a Travis Kelce type season, he would be considered for that award.
Not a chance. For sure. Not a chance. But this is what I expected you to say, Joe Tooney. But the Bears offense player of the year, I got DJ Moore.
But an offensive lineman's not going to win that position.
In 2024, DJ, the whole team's stats went down. Everybody, he had the lowest yards per reception of his career. He had 966 yards with 9.9 receptions or yards per reception. He had 98 receptions with 6 touchdowns. That's the only year in DJ Moore's career where he did not have double-digit yards per reception. As a matter of fact, he's only had 2 with less than 14 yards per reception. In 2023, which I expect DJ Moore to look more like 2023 DJ Moore under Ben Johnson, he had 96 receptions for 1,364 yards, 14.2 yards per reception, and 9 touchdowns. I expect that DJ Moore to make an appearance in 2025 for the Chicago Bears. So he is my offensive player of the year for the Bears. If Caleb Williams is MVP, no doubt about it. For me, it's not even a question. If
Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp were the last 2 receivers to win offensive player of the year. They both had close to 2,000 yards. There's no.
Oh, I thought we were just talking about for the Bears, right?
We're saying which Bear has the best chance to actually win the NFL award. There's no
None
chance
of them.
in hell. Yeah.
Offensive player of the year,
especially Joe Tooney. It's not going to be an offensive lineman.
Yeah, there's no Bear is going to win offensive player of the year. That's not going to happen.
So let's just stick to the Bears. Which Bear, Kyle, is going to be offensive? I think Joe Tooney. I think Joe Tooney. If we're talking about strictly to the Bears roster,
strictly the Bears, I think DJ Moore.
Okay,
I think he's the Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Do you think DJ Moore has his best season in his career this season?
I think that is certainly a possibility. I don't know if I'd have to look at. I think he had a season. I think his best season was 1,400 yards, like 10 touchdowns.
Justin, we've grasped that the Bears don't have a guy who's going to stand a chance of winning offensive player of the year unless it's Caleb Williams. So, which guy on the Bears do you think has the potential to be
Rome Odunze? Rome Odunze will be the best receiver on the Bears roster this year.
I believe Rome Odunze will be the best receiver on the Bears roster. It's just not this year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think he starts to establish it this year. I think
like I'm not trying to end of the year. You kind of see it coming.
I'm not trying to take anything away from DJ Moore, guys. I fucking love DJ Moore. I think this is a great receiver.
I hate DJ Moore, man.
I love him both.
I totally hate DJ Moore, but it's a great receiving tandem, but I just think Rome brings more to the table in terms of his ability to beat a cornerback 1-on-1 and to go over the top and to get contested catches.
Breaking news, Bruce says Rome Odunze, Dustin. Bruce agrees with you.
Hey, Bruce, the ceiling for me for Rome Odunze is higher than DJ Moore. I just think DJ Moore is going to be the guy they lean on early and often this season because he's an NFL vet and he's been here for so long, and they can use him in that Amon-Ra St. Brown, put the ball in his hands as much as he possibly can type role.
For sure, and I can see that, and I've said that from the beginning. If there's somebody that can play the Amon-Ra, if Ben Johnson wants that, I don't even know if Ben Johnson wants that. But if Ben Johnson wants that Amon-Ra St. Brown role in this offense, DJ Moore makes the most sense for that. But Rome can go in the slot too. And Caleb is a lot more comfortable with Rome, I think, than he is with anybody else on this football team.
Rome should have the highest ceiling. He was the number 9 pick in the draft.
I think Rome is going to be who Caleb looks to.
And he has the best skill set. He has a better skill set than DJ Moore.
And when things break down, Caleb is going to look for Rome.
You guys watched the Barely There podcast. We did their stat projections. I had them literally like 90 yards apart and like 2 touchdowns apart.
Well, we heard it here first. Dustin thinks DJ Moore sucks. Kyle thinks Rome Odunze sucks.
Yeah,
that's how this conversation.
Rome Odunze is the future of the Bears. So I hope Rome Odunze is the best receiver on the roster because he's going to be here longer than DJ Moore.
I think he'll establish that.
Mine's Joe Tooney. Now I'm throwing my Joe Tooney out there. Am I putting the name in the hat? I think Joe Tooney has potential to be the offensive player of the year for the Bears. All right,
Brandon thinks Drew Dalman sucks.
Yeah,
Brandon thinks Larry Borum sucks.
No, and matter of fact, I think he's not on the list. And more importantly, I think that Joe Tooney is able to elevate the Drew Dalmans and the Braxton Jones, whoever it is that's playing on the left side of him, and Jonah Jackson. I think Joe Tooney will make that impact across the entire line.
Defensive player of the year. Who's the defensive player of the year for the Chicago Bears?
Am I going first?
Let Brandon go first.
All right, Brandon, you go first.
I'm going to say
Kyler the best chance. Kyler
say
Gordon?
Kyler Gordon because I think Dennis Allen is able to keep Kyler Gordon on the field more often. And I think Kyler Gordon will solidify himself, guys, as the best nickelback in the NFL. And more
Roy
importantly,
Jones, what
an
up?
impact player in all ways. I mean, you can use Kyler Gordon basically wherever you want. He's the reason you don't
Swiss
use three
Army knife.
linebackers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
this guy
he's been on consideration.
is your DJ Moore on defense, really, if you're talking about how you can potentially use a player. But I think that his increase in snaps will be what's most important for him this season because Dennis Allen's going to, like he said, keep this guy in the field even when he's not in a package.
I think Kyle's going to be thinking the same thing I was thinking. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Kyle.
I'm going Jalen Johnson. I think
Yes.
Jalen Johnson
Yes.
has an opportunity. I think Jalen Johnson's stats in 2023.
See, I
he
think
should have been.
Jalen Johnson has a good chance to regress because he's been
His
so
stats
damn
in
good.
2023. Let me finish. His stats in 2023. He should have been considered the defensive player of the year in the NFL. Let me go over his stats for
Right.
you guys. In
And
2023.
Pat Surtain won it. Pat Surtain
That's-
just won it this
Yeah,
past
that's
year.
my
so a
point.
corner can win. But last year, 2024, he had 575 coverage snaps, 32 receptions allowed, 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, 316 yards
Yeah, those
allowed
interceptions
received,
got to come up.
85.7
Yeah,
passer rating allowed. Now let's go to Jalen Johnson in 2023 when the team was the coaching was more consistent.
4
You know, it
interceptions,
wasn't
3
good either.
dropped.
You guys, in 2023, this is insane. Jalen Johnson played 530 coverage snaps. He allowed 25 receptions. He had 4 interceptions and 6 pass breakups. He allowed 192 receiving yards in 2023. 192. Dude, some receivers get 300 yards in one game.
See,
This guy
but would
allowed
it surprise you, Kyle, after
you know what,
reading
John,
those
F?
numbers? Would it surprise you?
Guess what his pass? Hold on. Guess what his passer
What's up,
rating
John?
allowed was? Guess what his passer rating allowed
Wasn't it
in
in the
2023?
50s?
Six-
Wasn't it in the
60%.
50s? It was in the
60%.
50s, I thought.
Passer rating allowed in 2023 was 33.3.
So,
Yeah.
so do you think that there's
Oh
a possibility
my
after
God.
what you just read that Jalen Johnson could regress from those numbers?
No, I think he's going to look more like 2020. I think Dennis Allen's going to be like,
That's
that
not
is my
possible.
guy.
That's
I
not
think
possible.
no, that's what let me jump in because Jalen Johnson was my guy too. Just because on the strength of the fact that Pat Surtain just won last year on a defense that really got a lot better, really out of nowhere, and Pat Surtain was the best, maybe the best cornerback on that team. I don't know if he was the best cornerback in the NFL, but he
Rated he was.
yeah, but Jalen Johnson could have that same type of season if the Bears get their shit together on the defensive side of the ball. If Dennis Allen is the coach to get these things addressed and get more pressure on the quarterback, yes, Kyle, because those two things work in tandem. The defensive backfield.
Justin, didn't the Broncos have the most sacks in the NFL last year?
The Broncos were up there. They put I had them in fantasy on.
Yeah, that helps
throughout the
Patrick
season.
Surtain a lot.
They killed
It would be
scored a
it
lot.
would be fantastic if Jalen Johnson could stop.
I think the
dropping
regression.
interceptions.
I think the regression for Jalen Johnson was this past year. I think that was regression. I think
that was like,
I think that was him going backwards. I think he's going to kick it up a notch this year. And if the defense around him does, it will make him look better, and he could be the catalyst for that defense.
Well, you know what sucks for Jalen?
That's possible.
And the knock he gets, and what sucks for him is people always like, well, Jalen Johnson doesn't have 8 interceptions. Yeah, nobody throws the ball his way. How can you get 8 interceptions?
But as Brandon said, you need the interceptions to win that kind of award.
Yeah, he had 4 interceptions in 2023. I think 4 or 5.
No, you need 6. You need at least 6.
Well, more importantly, man, let's hope this guy hit the jugs machine.
Yards receiving.
Let's hope he hit the jugs machine because more importantly, you can't
Guys,
drop.
He's
You
the
gotta catch the
closest.
ball,
I
yeah.
think he's the closest thing to Darrelle Revis in the NFL right now. I'm not talking about a corner who's ball hawk. I'm talking about a corner who just is. You can't throw him. You can't throw him the ball.
And that will be recognized.
You
And if the
can't throw
Bears
the
defense has a top 10 season, Kyle, like the Broncos did last year, and Jalen Johnson is the guy that every number one receiver gets shut down
That
by
anchors,
all season,
That
that
anchors that.
will be noticed by voters across the NFL. And
I think it's
that's
funny
why he
nobody
has the best
said
chance.
the guy who gets paid the most.
Montez Sweat is nowhere near the top of this list. Nowhere near it.
He's my comeback player of the year for the Bears.
Oh, we're doing a comeback.
I guess we'll dive into that. That's the
Well,
next.
I thought
Go
we were
ahead
doing all
and
the
kick us
NFL.
off.
We're doing
I'm just
the
giving you
all
shit,
the
but go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah,
you
so
think
I got
where
so
do
I
you
got-
see the sack numbers for Montez Sweat this season?
Yes. So real quick, so obviously you guys had a terrible season last year. I think everybody in the Bears regressed a little bit. We just talked about Jalen Johnson. We talked about the rest of the team. They all kind of regressed a little bit. The coaching staff was a joke. Montez Sweat in 2024 had an overall PFF grade of 65.6, pass rush grade of 67, run defense 65. Not good. To his 2024 statistics, he had 24 tackles, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 34 hurries, and 49 quarterback pressures. He also had 2 batted balls. 2023, on the other hand, His overall PFF grade was 75. His pass rush was 71. His run defense was 73. He had 41 tackles. He had 12 and a half sacks. He had 3 forced fumbles, 64 quarterback pressures, and had 4 batted passes.
How many times do I got to hear you read the 2023 Montez Sweat stats?
If he has that season, if he
For
has
sure.
that 2023 season, he is the Bears the Bears comeback player of the year. Not even a question. If he has that 2023 season, he's the comeback player of the year.
He could be the comeback player in the NFL if he were to have those numbers. He was far off of those last year, and the Bears do need him to step up. So if that were to be the case, I'd be all for it, man. I would be with it 100%. I think if I was looking to have a comeback player that I would prefer to see the most on the Chicago Bears, it would be Tremaine Edmonds. Tremaine Edmonds to me is the guy.
I wouldn't be upset if both of them
are
in
the
the conversation.
But Tremaine Edmonds is the guy who should be the captain of your defense, right? The guy that everybody looks to for the call, the guy that's going to tell everybody where it's coming and where it's going.
The guy who has the pedigree of that position and this
rallies
city.
Everyone to the ball. Yeah, I mean, if you could see Tremaine Edmonds get 120 tackles this year and a couple interceptions and some forced fumbles, because he's good at that. He is good at knocking the ball out if he gets the opportunity. It's like I think the Bears defense would be much better if Tremaine Edmonds were the guy that they signed.
What's up, Purple
Here's
Jesus?
the thing that concerns me about Tremaine Edmonds.
I'm with Tom G here. He says Tremaine just ain't that good.
Hold on. I had this one up here because our senior Packer correspondent was checking again with another report. He says FGB, Ron Winarski, our senior Packers correspondent.
Yeah,
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for checking in.
You guys, I
From the field.
I found in all the hoopla that Tremaine Edmonds has been bad in Chicago since leaving Buffalo. I went and looked at the stats, guys, every single year.
Yeah, but you don't need
he had his
stats.
best season as a rookie on the Bears in terms of tackles, sacks, and interceptions. I think Tremaine Edmonds just is who he is. I think this is Tremaine Edmonds. I think he's a little slow. Good. I think he's a 50-50 shot in coverage. I don't think he's tremendous in tracking the ball. I think he has struggles to get off blocks. I think Tremaine Edmonds just is an average linebacker in the NFL, and that's probably going to be a position that Bears are looking to replace next season.
So that's a big whiff by Ryan Poles then.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
My comeback player of the year, guys. My comeback player of the year is DeAndre Swift. I know the stats were there, but I want to see the impact. I think DeAndre Swift, guys, they are going to lean.
The eye test last year too, guys. His running between tackles is tremendous.
No, we did a whole episode on Thursday about DeAndre Swift, and I think people are sleeping on him pretty hard.
Yeah, they're going to lean heavily on DeAndre Swift. He is the most talented back on this team, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I like to look at things as realistically as possible. I don't think Kyle Mononga or Roshan Johnson are going to end up being David Montgomery. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near the production Dave. I don't think they're going to get into the double-digit touchdown numbers that David Montgomery's acquired for the last couple of seasons. I think that DeAndre Swift is going to prove not only that he is a better player than we saw last year, but he's going to have to be, because I think it gets pretty thin behind him. I think he's going to have to set the tone for the rest of these backs. And I also think that Ben Johnson states all the time, guys, he loves big plays. This was your big play guy last season through a bad year.
And
he was still Mr. Big Play.
Yeah.
So I think DeAndre Swift ends up having a big season, not just a comeback season, but a big season for Chicago Bears, and is a heavy part of this offense. And I can't stress this enough, guys. Caleb Williams' shortcomings in his rookie season had a lot, not just to do with the offensive line, but you need an established run game to be a young quarterback in the NFL. The pressure,
DeAndre Swift,
you cannot have to win games as a rookie quarterback.
DeAndre Swift suffered from that play calling too, Brandon. As we
Caleb Williams was forced to win games. And Caleb Williams was forced to win games as a rookie, and no rookie quarterback should be in that position. DeAndre Swift needs to be the guy that can alleviate that kind of pressure. And Caleb Williams' best hopes for improvement is that he's not required to be that guy again this year. We don't want 35 to 40 passes a game out of Caleb Williams.
Ben Johnson wants to establish the run too, guys. We know that 100%. And DeAndre Swift is far and away the best running back on this roster.
I think his carries go down this season.
No way. I think
his yards per carry go up.
His yards per carry go up 100%. There's no running back on this roster that will take snaps from him because DeAndre Swift brings something to your. I do, because none of those other running backs can do what DeAndre Swift does, Kyle. And if you're talking about Ben Johnson loving big plays, Roshan Johnson ain't making big plays out of nothing. And neither is Kyle Mononga.
If you're talking about carries,
he's your home run hitter.
I'm not talking about touching the ball. I'm talking about carries, just rushing the ball. So not touching.
That's fine. It doesn't mean DeAndre Swift comes off the field.
Receptions are not considered carries. If you're talking about carries, he had 253 carries last year, which I believe is the most in his entire career. If I'm not,
it is. The year previous, he had 229. Yes.
Yes, and then 99, 151, and 114. DeAndre Swift, I think that
Well, I hope those
252
come
carries
down.
number
I hope
goes
that goes
down
down.
this season. I think Kyle Monangai and Roshan Johnson are more involved in this running game than anybody was last year, and his carries are going
He'll
down.
have over 200 carries still.
And I think you're going to be rudely awakened to the fact that Kyle Monangai and Roshan Johnson just aren't the most skilled players in the NFL.
I think the
This is
Bears
the
are
guys-
going
I
to
wanna-
need to rely heavily on DeAndre
I said this on the bare minimum, and I want to say this again. Most of these guys don't actually make active rosters. If you have excitement about Kyle Monangai, power to you. And I think that Eric Bieniemy will make him the best football player he can be, which I still think, guys, just won't be good enough. I'm gonna be
Not better
honest.
than DeAndre
This
Swift.
is a 7th-round pick in the NFL.
Swift to take carries from DeAndre Swift. I don't understand. Brendan, you want the two different running styles. You need Kyle Monangai to be good.
Yes.
And on top of that,
Yes,
Brendan,
but I want to.
Kyle Monangai was told that
some,
when he got to high school. He was told that when he got to college, and now he's told that when he got to the NFL. You ain't
I
going to
want
be
to
that
put
guy.
some perspective on this. This was one of the best running back classes. This is one of the best running back classes in NFL history, possibly.
I like Kyle Monangai.
With
I like him a lot.
This is okay. Can I finish this fucking point? This is one of the best running back classes in possibly history if these guys pan out to who they're supposed to be. And he was taken like 21st of them.
You're making a point
for him.
It's a terrible running back class. He probably
went that late.
Round.
Then that would be an indictment on his talent. You know what I'm saying?
But the reason he wasn't drafted higher is because there's so many good running backs.
I think the fact that a bunch of running back needy teams passed him says a lot about.
Look at who they were drafting in front of him.
Look at they're drafting some of the best running backs.
That was the point that you started.
I don't think that a Cam Scatabo is that good of a player, but they didn't look at Kyle Monangai. I don't think that Dylan Sampson is that good either. I think he was way overhyped. That's why the Browns took him to be a backup running back, and they still passed on Kyle Monangai. I mean, guys, teams drafted 2 running backs that weren't Kyle Monangai.
Okay, well, I'm keeping that receipt. We'll see what Kyle Monangai.
Okay,
listen, I think Kyle Monangai could be I started out a guy to watch.
And remember, guys,
he started the show off.
And remember,
because I
remember, 7th-round pick that has to earn a spot on this team.
I started out with Kyle Monangai because I think he can take Roshan Johnson's spot. I don't think he can take DeAndre Swift.
And he has to do that first.
DeAndre Swift is the guy that will lead this backfield.
What I'm saying is,
will he lead this backfield, Kyle? Well, DeAndre Swift.
But what I'm saying is, Roshan Johnson didn't cut into DeAndre Swift's carry load that much last year. If they think about Kyle Monangai, if they think he's a lot better than Roshan Johnson, who was their number 2 last year, then Kyle Monangai is probably going to cut into that.
And he has to do that
more than Roshan Johnson did.
And there's certain carries
that Roshan Johnson's still going to get carries.
And there's certain carries that those guys should be getting that you don't want DeAndre Swift to get.
DeAndre Swift was a big problem last year.
And he has, but Kyle Monangai
will be important.
But and I'm going to remind, the 7th-round pick has to do that first. And I will say this. I sent it to you guys in a text. ESPN, 20 experts did ESPN projections on the rookie running backs in the NFL. Kyle Monangai was projected 18 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown on the season. Season, 18 carries. That projection had nothing to do with Kyle Monangai's talent. It had to do with his usage.
But what would Terrell Davis have been projected for his rookie season when he was drafted in the 6th round?
Exactly. What would Tyreek Hill been projected for his rookie season?
What I'm saying to you is, I think that the Bears fan think that Kyle Monangai is going to be used a lot more than he is. Not even too high on his potential. I think they're high on his use. I don't think he's going to be as used as much as the Bears fan thinks he is.
You know how I am, Brandon. You know I have dug so deep. Dude, I've read every article I've ever written about.
And if the 7th-round pick passes
high school and college, this guy has been slept on his entire life, and all he's done is come in and beat the shit out of people and lead the Big Ten in rushing yards.
Where was Roshan Johnson? Where was Roshan Johnson drafted?
In the 4th round.
Okay, if the 7th-round pick passes Roshan Johnson, he's ass.
As we just established about Brock Purdy, it doesn't matter where you were drafted once you get in the league and you start performing. To me, it doesn't. You got to start performing.
When expert analysts project it's going to be some time, when an expert analyst projects 20 guys, project there's going to be some time before you get an opportunity on the field, that matters, man.
Again, the thing that matters to me the most, as I started out this show saying, is that Roshan has not impressed. If Kyle Monangai comes out and does, then he will take Roshan's spot. But that won't touch what Kyle's saying is that won't really touch what DeAndre Swift does.
No, and that will take
DeAndre
time.
Swift is a completely different back. No doubt. No doubt.
Just the number one running back. That's not a question. Nobody's saying he's not going to be. That's not a question. What I'm saying
it felt like you were saying that to start.
Justin said, DeAndre Swift was getting carries in between the tackles last year.
Where he shouldn't have been getting
1 yard, and he shouldn't have gotten those. This year, he's not going to get them because the coaching staff is smart. So he's going to lose those touches.
Yes, that's a
he's
good
going to lose those touches that he had last year.
This year the offensive line can create holes in those places, Kyle.
And because as we talked about on Thursday, Kyle, DeAndre Swift led the league in yards before contact his only over 1,000-yard season with the Eagles 2 years ago. When he had a good offensive line, he was able to run those kind of plays.
And the Bears don't have the Eagles offensive line. And Tom G says
they could be better.
And Tom G says here, guys, the running backs have the easiest path to earning touches. And won't matter where Kyle was drafted. If he averages 5 yards a carry, I'm assuming he's talking about preseason, and Swift is getting 3, he's going to get carries.
I want to talk more about that. The fact that people, that's another thing, man, that's bothering. People are writing DeAndre Swift off as an in-between the tackles runner when you just added the second best guard and the fifth best center in the NFL. If those guys are there to open holes. Mm-hmm. So DeAndre Swift is not going to have to be breaking tackles to get through those guys because there's going to be a gap there.
Caleb is not the only guy who gets the pass because the offensive line sucked last year. DeAndre Swift should get that too.
So does Roshan Johnson. Roshan Johnson.
Yeah, for sure. All these guys.
But DeAndre Swift is going to get carries between the tackles.
DeAndre Swift made a lot more out of what he
guys,
had.
We know we all like DeAndre Swift, right? You guys are smart football fans.
I like him as a comeback player.
Yeah, you know who DeAndre Swift is.
He still had 1,300 total yards last year. He still had
He's not Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not Christian McCaffrey. He's not Derrick Henry. He's not Saquon Barkley. DeAndre Swift
never be those guys.
Yeah, he's a very specific skill set.
And if you guys
I'm sure it'll be used very well, but he's going to he had 250.
And Ben Johnson's not an idiot.
He's not getting 250 carries this year. He's not.
And I think you want that. I think you want that.
And more importantly, Ben Johnson's not an idiot. And not every time does DeAndre Swift get a carry, he's going to be running to the outside. That's going to make it pretty predictable to know where he's going. He's going to get carries in between the tackles, undoubtedly.
I think Kyle Monangai is more involved than you think, Brennan.
Tom, it's hard to find holes when there are none, for sure. Swift missing holes that don't exist. I mean, I could understand missing a hole that doesn't exist.
And I think part of the reason that Ben Johnson cut down on his load and Detroit is you guys, besides the last season, the season prior to that, DeAndre Swift also has had injuries his first 3 seasons. So maybe the Bears coaches will look at that. He'd be like, I remember DeAndre Swift in Detroit. I remember the guy I had in Detroit, and this guy sprained his ankle every 3 weeks. So
all right, let's move on to the rookie.
Bring the wear and tear down a little bit. I agree 100%. Hopefully Kyle Monangai can help with that.
Let's move on to rookie of the year for this Bears team. Not potentially. Well, actually,
Kyle Monangai.
Can somebody on this football team possibly win offensive rookie of the year in the NFL?
Yeah, Luther Burden and Colston Loveland each could if they got involved in this offense in the right way. That I think either one of them
Luther
could.
Burden probably has the highest, just because he's so talented. He would be my pick because if he does get on the field, I think Luther Burden could be a very special player in the NFL. I mean, you guys, we've heard likes the comparison of Antonio Brown. I mean, if he's anything like Antonio Brown, he could easily be rookie of the year.
And Antonio Brown's impact in the NFL was immediate. That did not take any time.
I think the skill set, the God-given talent is immediate.
Well, you have to hope, right? Because the Bears took the 4th skill player position, or offensive skill player position, off the board, right? I mean, you had Travis Hunter, you had Ashton Genty, and then you had Tetero McMillan. Colston Loveland was 4th.
I think Matthew Golden
got drafted well after Colston.
The Packers, like 15th.
Like 20 something.
I thought you were talking about with receivers, right? Like Luther Burden was.
No, he's talking about Colston Loveland.
I'm saying Colston Loveland was taken 10th overall in the draft, and we're talking about offensive rookie of the year. This guy was the 4th skill player taken in the draft.
And the last tight end to be offensive player of the year.
Offensive rookie of the year? Wasn't it Brock Bowers last year?
Was he the rookie of the year?
Yeah, wasn't it Brock Bowers last year?
But he's no Brock Bowers, guys. He's not that.
Listen, I don't
not
think anybody's really comparable to Brock Bowers, but I do think
That's
if I was choosing between Colston Loveland and Luther Burden, I've said this repeatedly.
Brock Bowers was not offensive rookie of the year though.
No, who was it?
Jaden
That's right. Because we had Jay.
I was going to say, I don't think a tight end's been offensive rookie of the year for it's been 60 years. I think it was
Mike Ditka. Was he the last one?
Well, Kyle, I can tell you this: Cam Ward is not going to be offensive rookie.
Maybe
there's not a quarterback.
Ashton Genty is going to be the offensive rookie of the year because solely based off of opportunity.
Going to be. But Brock Bowers was drafted when there was a class of quarterbacks that were going to fight for that position.
Yeah.
That does not exist here.
Brock Bowers was the best skill position player that was drafted in that draft, which is saying a lot considering Malik Neighbors went in that draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. went in that draft, and fucking Rome Odunze went in that draft. But if I'm choosing between Colston Loveland and Luther Burden of who could win, which Bears rookie could win offensive rookie of the year, I would take Loveland over Burden because I think Burden's going to have a lot harder time getting involved in the offense when you're next to Rome Odunze and you're next to DJ Moore, man. Colston Loveland, I think, can be a red zone target for the Bears right off the bat. And he'll be better than Cole Kmet pretty early.
You're talking about the tight end position outside of Brock Bowers, which we all know is a unicorn, a freak of nature. You just don't see tight ends come to the NFL and have 1,000-yard, 5 touchdown. That just doesn't happen very often. If Ashton Genty has a 1,200-yard rushing season and 600 yards receiving and 12 touchdowns, that's your offensive rookie of the year. Or Caleb Johnson does it on the Steelers.
Well, obviously the path for these other guys is laid out better than it is for. We're talking about the Bears. We're talking about the Bears specific players. I think if you compared Burden to Ashton Genty, you could say the same thing.
They're just based off opportunity. The Bears will not have the offensive rookie of the year on the Chicago.
But if we had to pick one, all I'm saying is I would take Colston Loveland over Burden. As much as I love Burden and I like Burden better than Loveland, I just think Burden is going to take a year to really get involved and become a target for Caleb Williams. I could be wrong. I think Burden going to take more time.
I think Burden would do more with the same. If they both had the same receptions, I think Burden would be more productive than Colston Love.
For sure, but what I'm saying is that opportunity to get those targets is not going to be as good for Burden as it is.
I think
they don't have to rush either of them in. Cole Kmet's capable tight end.
All due respect, I think Colston Loveland
be rushed.
Colston Loveland will be a better player than Luther Burden. Colston Loveland has the potential to be a top 3 tight end in the NFL. Luther Burden could be a top 25 receiver in the NFL. Luther Burden just had a 600-yard season. Let's remember that. Let's get some perspective on Luther Burden too.
Is not the best receiver on this Bears team. I think Colston Loveland is the best tight end on this Bears team.
I'm not trying to make you guys sound dumb or anything, but what did you just say about Luther Burden?
He had a 600-yard season.
Okay, do you want me to give you the stats for Colston Loveland over his entire collegiate career?
It's not the same thing.
He had a 500-yard season, dude.
Kyle, where do you project Colston Loveland? Where do you project Colston Loveland to be in the rankings of the NFL? When he reaches his prime. When he reaches his prime.
In tight end.
Tight ends.
We're talking about this year, guys. We're just talking about this year.
When he reaches his prime,
I want to open this can of worms. 12, where do you project Colston Loveland to be?
I think long term, Luther Burden will be a better player than Colston Loveland.
Yes,
a more impactful,
much higher ceiling.
I think this year,
Luther Burden might have the highest ceiling of anybody in the 2024.
I think if the analysts are correct, and Colston Loveland is your next Travis Kelce, George Kittle, he will be a better player than Luther Burden.
That's a big if. It's a big if.
Luther Burden is the 3rd receiver on a team that has 2 better guys for the next 4 years, man.
But you're talking about their ceiling, Burden. You said it in the prime of their careers. I think Luther Burden has the highest potential of anybody in this draft.
To me, the conversation comes down to how quickly can you get targets to get the opportunity to earn the yards.
That's the problem.
That's the biggest problem facing Luther Burden. Is you got Roma Odunze and DJ Moore. More so for Burden, I think, in terms of competing in that receiver.
I'll tell you this, guys. I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's definitely not a plus
that neither one of them have
been hit the field yet. That's not good for either one of them. That they have not run actual routes yet is not good for either one of them early in the season. Week 1, 2, 3. The fact that neither of them have actual routes ran with Caleb Williams and the timing is there, like the mental clock. Neither of them have done that yet. That's not good for either one of them.
I think it's worse for Burden too. I think it's worse for Burden as well because there's guys competing with him more. Zacchaeus is right there.
Yeah, Zacchaeus is capable NFL player too. He's not just going to be written
so.
off. He was brought here for a reason. I agree with you, Dustin. It's probably going to be harder for Luther Burden to find receptions, but if they both have
targets in the first place,
I think Luther Burden's a better athlete than Colston Love.
If you could guarantee they had the same amount of targets and the same amount of opportunities, then that's a different conversation. I think Loveland ends up with more targets, more
probably.
If Colston, well, and listen, I'm just going to say this: we don't need to argue, but if Colston Loveland is a Travis Kelce type player and has that impact in the NFL, he is the better player of the two. Without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, what's Luther Burden's ceiling? Well, listen, you're comparing Antonio Brown in that case to Travis Kelce. It's like
I don't think the guy taken 39th in the draft.
Both those guys, but Brandon, I think there's just a big shot.
Antonio Brown taken, Brandon? It's not just about where you were taken.
You think Luther Burden is comparable to Antonio Brown?
That's the comparison that's been made. The same as you're throwing out Travis Kelce to Colston Loveland. By draft pundits, that's the comparison.
I can't do that. I like Luther Burden. I like Luther Burden, but I can't do that. That's
well. Listen, it's the same as saying Colston Loveland could be Tony Gonzalez or Travis Kelce. It's the same thing. You're talking about the highest.
No, because there's fewer tight ends to try to surpass. Luther Burden has to get past like 900 other receivers before he gets anywhere near Antonio Brown.
Let's get the chat. Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, but Antonio Brown had to do the same thing from the third round. He was not a highly touted prospect either. But Tom G says, give me Loveland all day over Luther Burden. I just think Colston has all the tools to be elite. Luther could be a nice gadget player, but I just don't see him being elite ever. I don't agree with that last part of that statement. I do think Colston has the tools to be elite, but I think Luther Burden does too, because when he gets the ball in his hands, he can house it every time. He can make yards after the catch that you can't really it's hard to find that skill set in the NFL. Luther Burden can be a stud elite slot receiver in the NFL.
You guys, personally, I first of all, I think the ceiling or the floor for Luther Burden or for Colston Loveland is lower than Luther Burden. I think the floor is lower for him because
you think the bottom is higher for Luther Burden. Like in terms of
because Colston Loveland only had 580 yards in college. I've never seen anything more than that. So how can I just project that this guy's going to be 1,500-yard tight end in the NFL?
Well, you look at traits and skills because the quarterback.
I understand.
The quarterback situation in Michigan was bad. But hey, the quarterback situation in Missouri was bad too, and that offense was terrible.
Yeah, and I've heard that before. And you guys, you know what? I think there's just as big of a chance of Colston Loveland. If Brendan wants to make the comparison of Colston Loveland being Travis Kelce, there's just as big of a chance of that Tyler Warren's a better tight end in the NFL than Colston Loveland. To me, there's just as big of a chance that he could be Travis Kelce, could be the best tight end in the NFL, and there's just as big of a chance that Colston Loveland never reaches his potential, and Tyler Warren is exactly the guy he was in college and ends up being a 1,500-yard receiver with 10 touchdowns. Like I think the odds go both ways. I think I could see both things happening.
Listen, here, you could see that being Poles and Ben Johnson talking themselves into a guy when the guy that was right in front of them that had shown the skill set already was there to be taken. But other teams thought this way too. Sean McVay tried to get up to get Colston Loveland. So when you got offensive geniuses like Ben Johnson and Sean McVay trying to get this guy, like you said, there's a reason for that. I think the upside for Colston is higher than Tyler Warren, and that's what they're looking at. That's what they're looking for. And if you can coach, and if you can coach and scheme him the way you did Sam Laporta in Detroit, Colston Loveland can be better than Sam Laporta. Yeah, Colston Loveland can be that.
Think he should be better than Sam Laporta.
Right? He should be. Yes, I agree.
I think Tyler Warren could be like a Sam Laporta, and I think Colston Loveland could be like a Travis Kelce.
I think Tyler Warren is a lot more like George Kittle, and Colston is a lot more like Travis Kelce. Colston Loveland's going to make his money off of route running, and Tyler Warren's going to make his money off of I'll catch the ball and run over the entire team, and I don't give a shit because I'm a football player and I like being physical. Colston Loveland,
Tyler Warren's got that contested.
He gets tackled up by the first tackler often. Colston Loveland doesn't break a bunch of tackles, but he gets open a lot.
Colston Loveland is better after the catch than he's given credit for.
He's better than given credit for, but he's not Tyler Warren.
And Caleb Williams is going to need that guy that will get open on
Tyler Warren's most impressive attribute.
Caleb Williams needs that guy.
Well, so Tyler Warren is good at everything, man. But Colston Loveland is the best route runner, could be the best route running tight end in the NFL.
Tyler Warren's contested catching is worlds above.
Tyler Warren's good at everything, man. He can do everything, man.
Listen, I think it's a good problem to have when you're having this conversation. You got two really good skill position rookies in this draft, and I hope they both hit their ceiling. If I was banking on
they both hit the field.
They will. I'm not worried about that. if I was banking on one to win, have the best chance to win Offensive Rookie of the Year this year, I think Colston Loveland's going to make a more immediate impact. Kyle has Luther Burden. I think Brandon, you had Colston.
But you
Loveland
guys,
as well.
but who's your offensive rookie for the Bears?
Offensive Rookie of the
Colston
Year
Loveland.
For the Bears.
Colston Loveland.
Yeah, mine's actually going to be Ozzie Trapilo.
I knew you were going to go there. Yeah.
I think Ozzie Trapilo is going to be the starting left tackle for the Bears. I really do. I absolutely 100% believe at some point.
Illinois Jones coming in from the top rope.
Yeah,
Look at that.
I see that. I saw that. I like it, Illinois Jones. I like it. But I just think Ozzie Trapilo, for me personally, guys, I think he's going to supplant Karana Magaji as the number 2 on the depth chart. And if Braxton Jones either gets hurt or struggles in any way, shape, or form, and Trapilo takes over there, I think he will never relinquish that starting left tackle duty ever again. I think he's a better player than Braxton Jones. If you just look at the tape, he looks more seasoned in his college tape than Braxton Jones does in his 3rd year in the NFL. Go watch the college tape.
But I could just as easily see Ryan Poles continuing the trend of drafting a left tackle.
I just you guys
in the 3rd round or 4th round.
But the left tackles we've watched.
He's drafted a left tackle every draft.
Wait a second. The left tackles we've watched in the past, Karana Bagaji and Braxton Jones, we've looked at the tape from college and been like,
Karan's tape is incredible.
Ozzie Trapilo's tape is amazing.
Guys,
so is Karan's. Karan's tape is pretty damn good.
All we can hope for is that the best guy wins that job. I hope it's not just given to Braxton Jones because he's the veteran. He has to earn it. I believe that's what's going to happen. If Ozzie Trapilo earns it and plays well throughout his entire rookie season, he will clearly be the most impactful rookie on the offensive side of the ball for the Chicago Bears.
For me, he's the rookie of the year.
Yes, I don't think that'll be it.
I think
that's the most important position on the offense besides Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and I think that's the most likely thing to happen with these rookies. I think he could be the starting left tackle for the Bears.
Let's move into the defensive rookie of the years, guys. The pickings are slim. It's only 3 players. But I will say this. If Jamar Turner's not able to get on the field as much as possible, as much as we'd hope, or as much as actually probably less than we hope, because that means the guys in front of him are doing a good job, Ruben Hippolyte might actually play the most snaps on this defense.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, well, listen, Ruben Hippolyte is going to be that 3rd linebacker. The Bears are going to be in a lot of
unless there's an injury
coverages.
Then he's a linebacker.
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to plug him in place of a middle linebacker and Tremaine Edmonds.
Real quick, guys.
Noah Sewell cannot play middle linebacker.
Kelsey is a good route runner. He's not a really big tackle breaking guy, but he's the best route runner of any tight end in the NFL. I think that's Colston Loveland's very similar to that. I think Colston Loveland's going to break tackles, but not like Pat Fryermuth, you said, does, or any of these. George Kittle breaks tackles like it's going on.
He'll be better after the catch than fucking Pat Fryermuth. I'll tell you that. He will be better after the catch than Pat Fryermuth.
Slow.
Loveland is actually an athlete with the ball in his
He's
hand.
much more athletic than Pat.
I mean, guys, we have
much more athletic than Cole Kmet.
Pat Fryermuth was
I'm not hating, but we have a pretty good example of a tight end who's not very good after the catch. He's on our football team already.
Yeah, that's why Colston Loveland's going to take over snaps from him pretty early on.
Colston Loveland's going to be known as a tackle breaking guy, and that he doesn't have to be. Travis Kelce isn't either.
I think he's going to tackles. Kyle, I think he's going to surprise you in that regard.
He's going to get into
surprise me, but still not be in the conversation with George Kittle, man. George Kittle can run over 9 guys on his way to the end zone.
Guys, hold on though. Yards after the catch is not necessarily breaking tackles. That yards after the catch is a guy who can find lanes and angles like DJ Moore, where he's not getting tackled. Like Colston Loveland can take the ball and run for 50 yards. You know what I mean?
I'm just solely talking about breaking tackles.
If Colston Loveland gets into space,
Travis Kelce's biggest move in his career is when he catches that in the flat. He's sitting there in the flat, catches that ball, pretends to go right, and then curls left, and always goes around that defender. But he didn't get tackled. He didn't. The guy never touches him. It wasn't a broken tackle.
Colston Loveland. If you get Colston Loveland,
George Kittle can run you over, man.
Yeah, for sure.
If you get Colston Loveland the ball in space, Colston Loveland has proven.
He reminds me a lot of Travis Kelce.
Colston Loveland has proven that he. Colston Loveland has proven. All right, can I? Colston Loveland has proven.
Can I finish?
Colston Loveland's proven that he can take angle when he's given the ball in space. He can take those angles to make players miss. He's elusive. He can take a ball for 50 yards if you get him in space. Like that's
George Kittle.
That's the thing Cole Kmet's never going to do. I don't care about Cole Kmet's tackle breaking. Cole Kmet can't go for 50 yards if he catches the ball.
George Kittle can catch the ball with 2 guys on his back and get another 50
yards. Okay, but that's not what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
Guys, what is more?
What are we talking about?
Hold
at
on.
all?
What is more common in yards after the when you think yards after the catch? What's more common? A guy taking the ball for a lot of yards or a broken tackle?
I don't give a shit. It's all
I
the
don't give a shit
same.
either.
It's all the same.
It's
to me.
not though.
It
DJ
is.
Moore is not a
Yards after
DJ Moore
yard-
is not a tackle breaker.
Brandon,
He's a guy.
yards after the catch is yards after the catch. If
Yes,
you get him,
yards.
that's a good
Not
thing.
broken tackles after the catch. It's
DJ
called
Moore
yards
can
after the catch.
Listen,
DJ Moore can break tackles.
You said something about Shamar Turner that I somewhat disagreed with, so I just want to go back to it. You said if the guys in front of him are playing well, hopefully we don't see him as much. I disagree with that. I think that the
Because
rotation.
you have three.
No, you need to be
There's three
rotating
ahead of
forward.
him.
You
Actually,
need to be
four. Chris Williams is ahead of him too.
Chris Williams
So
is not going to be ahead of him.
But he's not going to be ahead of him.
Can I finish? Can I finish?
No.
If you need to be rotating all four of them, man. You need to keep them with fresh legs. That's what the Eagles did so well. I'm just talking about the four. I'm talking about the four. You want to throw a fifth in there? I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about those four guys. I'm talking about Billings, Dexter, Grady Jarrett, and I'm talking about Shamar Turner. Those four guys having a solid rotation where they all have fresh legs throughout the game.
25% each.
That will be the most important thing. Yes. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see him playing less. I want to see him playing about the same amount.
Okay, but even on a good rotation,
with that rotation, you can consider him for defensive rookie of the year.
Even on a good rotation, let's take the Eagles, who probably had the best defensive tackle rotation
in the NFL.
Who's the fourth guy?
You saying in the NFL, Justin, defensive rookie of the year?
No, I'm talking about for the Chicago Bears. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think
the best chance of the Chicago Bears.
Who's the fourth guy in a good rotation?
Turner.
No, I mean, and any other NFL team in a good rotation. Who's number 4? Name a guy.
Who's the guy that just signed with the Panthers this year? Vince. Who's the guy that just signed with the Panthers? He was their fourth guy. He was the Eagles.
Oh no, the guy on the Eagles who signed with the Patriots, who got hundreds of millions of dollars.
He was their third guy.
He signed to the Panthers. He was their fourth guy. That's what I'm talking about.
Fourth guy. No, he signed to the Patriots.
No, he
fourth
didn't.
guy.
No, he didn't.
You're talking about Williams, Kyle? He was their third guy.
And did he not sign with the Panthers, guys? Or he signed with the Patriots?
Patriots.
Did he sign with the Panthers and then it got rescinded and then he ended up with the Patriots?
Yes, talking about Williams?
Yes.
He was their third guy.
Oh, he was the fourth, man.
No. Yeah.
He was the fourth.
No, he wasn't. He was their third. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis were number 1 and 2. He was number 3. There was no fourth guy. And the fourth guy was never heard of. The fourth guy barely played on the field because the fourth guy rarely ever does.
That's just not true. Let's
but you almost sound like you're rooting against him.
I'm saying there's a potential that you don't see a lot of Shamar guys. These guys are rookies. In the NFL,
yeah, Byron Young, Vernon. Byron Young went into the season as their number 3. Byron Young went into the season,
and he's still on their roster.
And we Googled his name.
I didn't know who that guy. You didn't know who that guy was until the Super Bowl. You didn't know who Williams was until the Super Bowl.
Nobody who's not a Bears fan. You're not going to see a lot of people who aren't Bears fans talking about Shamar Turner.
A lot of Bears fans know who Javon Dexter and Andrew Billings are.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that my main point, man, and the only point was that rotation needs to be consistent and it needs to be laid out well to where all these guys get rest and could come in with fresh legs and be as impactful as Shamar Turner on the field.
And he has the potential. Shamar Turner has to be better than one of those guys. Shamar Turner has to be better than Grady Jarrett. He has to be better than Javon Dexter. He has to be better than Andrew Billings to be a player that makes an impact on this football team.
I think it's a group effort.
He's going to have to be better than those guys to get an impactful role on this football team.
I think that's insane. I think they're going to give him as much playing time as possible because he's a rookie. He's the future.
I think Bears fans are kind of forgetting
the guy who's here when they're competing for Super Bowls.
I think Bears fans are kind of forgetting how depth rookies work.
And not
Kyle
to mention,
Monunga is not going to be your starting running back. Zay Frazier's not your starting DB.
Nobody's saying
Shamar Turner's not your starting defensive. These guys are going to be eased into these roles because there's players on the roster who need to play more.
You probably said that. When they drafted Brock Purdy, you were like, that's not your starting quarterback. It happens. It happens in the NFL. It happens.
Right. He needs to be better than somebody.
Not to mention, guys, that Shamar Turner getting playing time next to Andrew Billings while he's still here and Grady Jarrett while he's still here is very important to his growth and development as well. You want to make sure he's playing side by side with those guys because he will learn from them and he will get better because
Shamar Turner, though, has to carve out that role.
And I think he will. I think he's got that dog in him where he's going to compete with those guys on a daily basis to earn that role.
Do
I
yourselves
really
a
do.
favor. Go look back at the best of the best, excluding Aaron Donald, Brandon. Go look back at the best of the best defensive tackles taken in the NFL. Defensive tackle position, I don't know why. I don't know what the transition problems are. I have no idea. But none of them are good the rookie season. I mean, like standout players the rookie season. None of them.
Jalen Carter was.
Jalen Carter's a top 10 pick. And then you're talking about also maybe Braden Fisk. But I was the one on this podcast who said Braden Fisk is going to be a stud. But Braden Fisk also gets moved around a lot. He plays defensive end
I
a
think
lot.
Shamar Turner will too. I think if they want Shamar Turner on the field, they're going to have to move him around a lot.
Well, do I think that Ruben Hippolyte is going to be more impactful on the defensive side of the ball than Shamar Turner? No.
No, I don't either. I said he could play more snaps. There's a potential he could play more snaps.
I don't know what to think about. Ruben Hippolyte's the guy I'm most concerned about the draft class.
Well, let me put it in terms of this. So I would say I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm going to guess. What's the fucking linebacker that just went to Dallas?
No,
Jack Sanborn.
I'm going to guess Jack Sanborn probably played more snaps than Chris Williams. I'm guessing. I don't have the numbers in front of me. So I'm saying there's a potential for Ruben Hippolyte to play more football.
Did Jack Sanborn play like 37% of the snaps last year or something like that? It wasn't anything too crazy.
Chris Williams probably played like 11. I don't know what it was.
Scheme. Like
that's kind of my point with this scheme too, Kyle. I don't think you're going to see three linebackers on the field as much as you're going to see,
the guy who runs the scheme is the one who picked that linebacker in the fourth round.
I hope to hell. I don't know what's going to happen this season. I don't think either of them are going to be like mainstays on the field 24/7, but I hope to God that Shamar Turner's ceiling is much higher than Ruben Hippolyte. I hope. If not, that's the problem.
I mean, at the end of the day, if either one of them performs well for you, that's a plus.
Yeah, good, awesome, great. Especially if Ruben Hippolyte is good, I'm happy. He doesn't have to be great because from what I look at and the stats and the tape, I think he sucks. So if he's good.
Well, and really, man, you want to see what you want to see is the progress from your second and third year guys before you even worry about a shot. I mean, you want Javon Dexter and Austin Booker.
Yeah, you want Javon Dexter is going to be their best.
You want those guys to be taking those strides.
Will be the leader
you want the rookies to get a taste and show that they have a motor and stay healthy. But you want the guys who are on this football team already prior to this draft to be taking that step forward.
Yeah, but we're talking about defensive rookie of the year. I mean, we're pretty limited in what we can talk about.
I'm talking in regards to Dennis Allen's scheme. He's going to look to those guys long before he does these rookies.
Yeah, no doubt, but we're talking about the rookies right now. So, just in terms of what the opportunity is going to be for them to make an impact and who's the defensive rookie of the year for the Chicago Bears, I think it's Shamar Turner with a bullet at the top of that list. I think
Shamar Turner would have to get a few sacks. I'm hoping for that. I don't know that that's going to be the case.
For sure. I just think he'll have the most opportunity of the three guys. Now, if Zay Frazier ends up supplanting somebody in the depth of that cornerback room, then you could potentially see him breathing down Tyree Stevenson's neck middle of the season. That could change things because I do think Zay Frazier has what it takes, the skill sets, to be a starting cornerback in this league. But that's a long game. That's the long game. That is not happening right off.
You're hoping that doesn't have to
playing in community college. That's a developmental player. But yeah, I think he ultimately will be good. Yeah, but I think it's got to be Shamar Turner, man. I think I don't think he needs sacks. I think he just needs to be pre-pressure. I think he just has to show that he's developing.
Yeah, fill the holes in the run game better than what the Bears had last year.
Take care of your gap and make sure you're not the weak link that's letting the running back run by. I think he'll be all right.
Is that all the awards? There's no more awards, right?
It's all of them. That's it.
All right, so let's look forward to this 2025 schedule with the Bears, guys, and talk about which game, number one game we're most excited for, which game we think could be the best. The Bears had a lot of down to the wire football games last year, and unfortunately with some bad football teams as well as good. Which game are you guys most looking to most forward looking to? And then which game if you could get tickets to the game would you want to go to the most?
Ant Maz, what up? Thanks for joining us.
I can't say it, man. It's
most forward-looking game of the
most looking forward to. Most looking forward to.
That's the word.
Jesus. So thanks for bailing me out of that, Kyle.
Right in time, Ant-Mass.
It's a tough one.
What's up, Ant-Mass? What's going on?
There's so many, just because of how many good teams the Bears play this year. I think for me personally, I want to see I think the Bengals are always must-watch TV just because Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown.
Well,
And
if I want to watch the Bears
like I
play,
said, you guys, Jamar Chase is the first player to get the Triple Crown since 1932. It's happened 17 times in the NFL. I don't think they skip a beat this year. I think they're going to be just as good as they were. It also is a good measuring stick for the Chicago Bears because it's a really good offense. You want to see who you are, where your defense is. Week 9, they should be playing pretty much the way Dennis Allen wants them to play. So to me, that's a big one. But the one that I think is the most important for the Bears, or for Caleb
the first
Williams
team I ever saw play at Soldier Field against the Bears
is the Washington Commanders. I mean, that's the game. I think Caleb Williams has that game circled on his schedule.
October
after
13th, 7:15 p.m.
Yeah, at week 6 on the road. After that Hail Mary debacle in 2024 with Tyreek Stevenson, Caleb Williams grew up, obviously was born and raised in Washington, D.C. Caleb Williams was drafted 1, Jay Daniels was drafted 2. That's the game I think the Bears are going to – Caleb Williams is going to take very seriously, and I think they're going to beat the Commanders, and I think he's – the script is going to change a little bit when it comes to Caleb Williams and Jay Daniels after that game.
You know what's kind of interesting when you're looking at this schedule and looking at critical games, or the game you're most looking forward to, or the game the Bears can make a statement? They all seem to be on the road, except a couple. Like this is a tough schedule.
Yeah, the Bears are playing the best teams they're playing on the road.
Yeah, no, I mean, and they start out against those, 3 NFC teams. Then they got the Raiders, and then the Commanders, and that's like where the rubber hits the road. Like, can you compete in the NFC? You start out with the NFC North, so it's tough, man. But I think the first real measuring stick for me is Bears at Ravens. This is another road game when Caleb versus Lamar.
That's on my list.
Yeah, man. Listen, the Commanders is on my list too, but you already took it. So like Bears, Ravens, and AFC NFC matchup on the road. Can the Bears compete with what might be the best team in the AFC?
You guys, I
don't know. If they can, that's gonna make a huge statement for the Chicago Bears.
The Ravens are my pick to have the best regular season record. So yeah, that's good to me. That's the regular season. That's the best team in the NFL. So yeah, to me, that is the Bears' biggest hurdle on the schedule.
Yeah, it's a huge measuring stick.
I'm the best team in the AFC.
I'm going to say the Green Bay. I'm going to say the Green Bay Packers in Chicago.
Yeah,
because the Bears did win a game last year in Lambeau, but I don't know how fucking long it's been since this Bears team won against this Packers team in Chicago, man. Like maybe that 2018 season, I forget which game was they won, but
I don't think they did.
It's time that the Bears take claim over Soldier Field again from the Green Bay Packers, their division rival.
The rivalry is back.
To be at that game, if the Bears do win, if Caleb Williams gets his first victory in Soldier Field against the Green Bay Packers, that's a game that I would want to be at. That's probably a game we'd remember longer than any of these other games.
Are you not so? I mean, these NFC North games are going to be so amazing, dude.
Every NFC North game is going to be hugely important, and they start Monday night against the Vikings, and that's going to be a huge one, guys. That's the
Packers and Lions. Packers and Lions play each other week 1 too. These games are gonna be amazing, dude.
And the Bears don't play the Packers until fucking December, man. So that's the Bears should be established in terms of who they think they are at that time, right? And so that will be important. I wanted to pick one that was a little further up because the Bears need to kind of establish who they are. I think that Vikings and Lions game to start the season are hugely important. You can literally go through all these games and say that, right?
It's just me, or would you? I don't want to say I'd give them a pass, but if they went to Detroit and lost week 2 of the season, well, like Dustin, you said they're still trying to establish their identity, who they are. I would not be heartbroken. I mean, I would be pissed off. I'd be pissed off.
Think about it. That's Ben Johnson who just left them to come to Chicago.
I know, but
you're going back to Detroit. You want to kick that team's ass. You want to show them that you made the right decision and that you're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NFC North for years to come. There's going to be a big letdown. You want to see Bears lose that game.
Detroit wants to beat the shit out of him too, man.
You want to see sure. For sure. That's why whoever loses that game is going to have a big letdown. It's going to be a lot of emotional high in that game.
That's their home opener, guys. They're playing on the road week 1. That's a tall tale. Yeah, I mean, it would be awesome if the Bears beat them, but I'm not going to be like the Bears suck if they lose to Detroit.
No, you want to see the team rally around Ben Johnson for that game. That's what you want to see the team do it for him, because that's going to mean a lot to him, man. If he's able to go. As Dustin said, if he's able to go in there and do that, he can say, I did the right thing. And not only did I do the right thing, but I prepared this team to beat a team projected to be better than them a lot earlier than people gave them
And a
credit.
team that Ben Johnson does have intimate knowledge of in terms of their inner workings, in terms of how they practice, in terms of how they want to win football games. Whereas the Lions are not going to have that as much on Ben Johnson and this Bears team. I
So
think
if
Ben
we
will
are,
have an advantage in that regard as
so
well.
if every game was exactly the same price, Dustin, you're buying tickets to the Ravens game?
No, I'm going Bears Niners, man.
Yeah, Bears Niners. Brandon,
Bears
Green,
Niners.
Green Bay at home, no doubt.
Yeah.
I
would
think
go.
if you're looking back on this season,
Sorry,
which game
December
you're
28th,
if you
Christmas.
could go to a
That's a good
game
game.
that you're going to if you could
In
go to
Santa
a game
Clara.
that you're going to remember the most, it would be Caleb Williams beating the Packers at home for the first
I don't know,
time.
man, because I think I would say Bears Bengals because I want to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase so bad too.
Yeah, no, but you're going to see them kind of light up this Bears defense. And that's going to be an interesting matchup too. Jalen Johnson versus Jamar Chase and Tyreek Stevenson versus Higgins. That would be a very interesting matchup to see.
And Chase Brown versus this whole linebacking core.
I think the Niners are going to be a lot better this year. I think they're going to have a bounce back year. The Bears have a lot of measuring sticks to start the season, and then towards the end of the season, that Niners team might be a real contender in the NFC. And if the Bears have any thoughts of being contenders, going into Santa Clara and beating them would be a huge deal. And plus, just for me, I'm a Niners fan. I'm a Bears fan.
You heard me say I got the Niners winning that division with the easiest schedule in the NFL for Kyle Shanahan licking his chops. I think the Niners and they injected youth into that team, which is exactly
the Niners beat the shit out of the Bears last year, and they were a bad team. I also
say Ricky Pearsall is the leading receiver for the San Francisco 49ers.
Who's that?
I think Ricky Pearsall.
Ricky Pearsall. Brandon Ayuk is having issues again, man. It just seems like he's a guy that will continue to have issues.
That injury was brutal.
Yeah, but you don't compound it with, apparently he don't want to be there. He's not happy with the contract he just got. Maybe that's just rumors, man. But Brandon Ayuk just
on a good side, on a good note,
that's the case. Get that guy out.
He didn't get
signed it.
On a good note, he didn't get shot in the chest.
Yeah, for sure. He got shot in the chest and walked into the hospital on his own 2 feet.
Hey guys, Bruce brings.
That was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah. Bruce brings this up, and we haven't mentioned it yet. It seems like the obvious one. Bears versus Eagles on the road.
No, that's not it. I don't want to see that game. That's going to be an.
I don't know if I want to see that game either.
It's going to be hugely important to know if the Bears
that's the best roster in the NFL.
Yeah, but you got to play the best to be the best. You got to beat the best to be the best.
I just think they're a couple of years ahead of the Bears in terms of establishing themselves in the NFL. The Bears have a new coach.
When you look at this schedule, Kyle, you could easily see the Bears winning 6 games and being maybe okay, that's actually pretty good for this schedule. Honestly, this is a very, very hard schedule.
I got 9.
And it seems like all the hardest games are on the road. I haven't picked my wins and losses yet, man. I was out with the baby when y'all were doing all that shit. I'm going to get into it. But I mean, you could pick 6 wins for this Bears team with this schedule, and that would be a realistic and potentially optimistic view, man. It would. Yeah. If you look at the teams that they're playing and the when they play them and where they play them, this is tough sledding, guys. Very tough sledding.
You guys want to talk about the culture in Chicago?
Yeah, I was going to just kind of try to segue in. That's all right, guys. Yeah. If the Bears, regardless of the Bears,
well, we can't go through every game, right? I mean, it's the point where I want to see. It's like
no, I was done with that. I was just all right. Forget about it.
Every NFC North game is going to be
regardless of the Bears' record. It does feel as if the culture is changing in Chicago with the hire of Ben Johnson. Kevin Warren's made an impact on George McCaskey. We've talked about that a lot. And we have a quarterback, Kyle, like you said, might actually be a franchise quarterback in this city, which has never happened before. Feels like the culture is not just changing for the team, but for the fan base as well. Have you guys noticed a culture shift in all of Chicago sports beyond the Chicago Bears?
Oh man, especially with the Bulls potentially extending Billy Donovan. Yes, this culture is changing in Chicago.
Huge. That's gonna be huge.
I honestly, I do. And the Bulls are the odd man out because I think the Bulls are just a disaster. But you guys, we've heard recent news now that the White Sox do have a tentative deal that they are planning on selling the team. That's huge news for White Sox fans. Absolutely massive because Jerry Reinsdorf's a fucking idiot. I'm sorry.
When you read into that, Kyle, it's not really Reinsdorf getting out of there. That's not what's happening.
However, there's so much language in that contract. There's so much things to.
It's a minority stake that
the Bulls. Hold on,
with an opportunity to purchase the team in 2029. So
the Bulls are projected to trade Nick. The Bulls are projected to trade Nikola Vucevic and Kobe White this offseason. So if
the Bulls are out
and move forward with Buzelis and Giddey, that
Kobe
feels
White
like a
should
bit
Don't
of
forget Patrick Williams. Don't forget Patrick Williams, Brandon.
well, and Lonzo Ball, but that feels like a bit of a culture. If
No.
you really want to center this thing
You're
around
Kobe
Josh
White.
Giddey and Modest Bazelis, that is a bit of a culture change.
You are
because
not
you really-
helping your culture if you trade Kobe White.
Yeah,
You are
that's
not
dumb.
helping your culture if you
That's
trade Kobe
dumb.
White.
Don't trade
Not
Kobe.
my mind. Kobe
Unless-
is a guy that needs
unless
to be
Kobe
here.
gets you
Star,
something
man.
valuable.
Well, Kobe is something valuable in and of itself. So you gotta really rate and see
Yeah.
what you're getting back for a guy like Kobe White. 'Cause
And
I
it
don't
can't
think
be
you're gonna-
like
I don't
it
think
can't
you're
be
going to
like
get back
two first-round
a
picks,
commensurate
because
value.
first-round picks are irrelevant in the NBA when during
Well, you
these
see
trades.
Desmond Bain just get traded by the Grizzlies to the Magic yesterday, and there was 4 first-round picks that the Magic gave up in that
Nobody
trade.
cares about first-round picks anymore.
Yeah, it's so if you can get something back like that for Kobe White, I think Kobe White's on the same level as Desmond Bain in terms of skill set. I think you got to get rid of Lonzo Ball. I think you got to get rid of Vucevic. I think you hold on to a guy like Kobe White and you keep him in the backcourt with Josh Giddey. But my whole point was like, what a joke this is, man. They secretly extended Billy Donovan a couple of years ago when there was a lot of pressure on. Now the Knicks come
Yeah, it
sniffing
was
around for Billy.
secret,
Now
too.
the Knicks come sniffing around for Billy Donovan, and the Bulls are just like, no, you can't have him, and we're going to extend him. What the fuck are you doing? What has Billy Donovan done for you and your team?
Not a winning record. That's for
Things
sure.
after things that don't make sense. And then if you were to turn around and trade Kobe White and extend Billy Donovan, I'd just be done, dude. Like I can't.
Yeah.
The culture is not changing in all these places. The
Not
Blackhawks,
for the Bulls.
Kyle, what was the record of the coach that the Blackhawks hired? This guy was barely a 500 coach.
Yeah, but there's some asterisks there.
I
First
mean,
of all,
he's taken over a
he was
pretty
previously
shit
on
team.
poor teams and got the most out of those teams. Second of all, man, if you look at the Blackhawks minor league roster, if you look at all the prospects, they have one of the best farm systems in all of the NHL. Not to mention Connor Bedard. And at some point, guys, Connor Bedard is going to break out, and he's going to be Connor Bedard. He's 19 years old, bro.
Billy Donovan
he's a star.
Is the Bulls head coach. Could not define mediocrity any more than he has. He is 195 and 205. He is 10 games under 500, and his what is it now? Dustin, 5 seasons as the Bulls head coach.
I mean, we got to extend this guy. We got to extend this guy.
That is
games under 500.
No way forward, no way back. That is purgatory.
How do you not hold on to that, Brandon? You got to maintain that mediocrity for another 5 fucking years.
AK deserves a lot of.
The culture's changing
because you know what? AK is. They should have broke that thing down when Lonzo Ball was out. It would look good when Lonzo Ball was there. It looked good, right?
It looked
and then
all
he
right.
got hurt.
It looked all right.
And then all of a sudden, it just turned into a trip. That's when
and then Levine got hurt, and then
Patrick
DeRozan
Williams,
wanted the ball all the damn time.
Get all these guys out of here and let's restart again. But you know what? They had too much pride to say we're going to burn it down and restart it. They just wanted to do this retool instead of rebuild, and that was dumb.
Oh,
and they set themselves
AK
back.
is the worst manager in basketball.
Yeah, how many first round picks did he trade for
general manager?
DeMar DeRozan? How many first round picks?
And how many first round picks did he trade for Vucevic?
Yeah. It was the worst trade in NBA history. He traded Wendell Carter and like 4 first round picks.
I mean, listen, and Romy says it right here. As long as fans are buying the tickets and they keep selling out at the UC, it don't fucking matter. Fans got to be smarter than this and better than this. We got to demand more. You saw what it took to get rid of Garpax. We had to be screaming fire Garpax and boycotting this fucking team.
And the same for Kenny Williams.
Because Reinsdorf, that's the connector there. Reinsdorf between the Sox and the Bulls will be okay and content with mediocrity or less as long as the checkbook is balanced and the numbers look good. And that's not why we watch these fucking games. And I am sick of the Bulls being on their bullshit. You know, AK has had multiple years now to continue to fuck this thing up, and they're going to let them keep making moves that will damage this team in the future, and then they're going to hire somebody else and bring them in, and then his excuse for 5 years is going to be, well, it was a shit show I took over. Well, you let it become a shit show in the first place. Stop it now.
And his pompous.
That's a short.
and Karnisovas, his pompous ass attitude. Every time he's asked about the moves and decisions he doesn't make to improve this basketball team, he's got a fucking attitude with the media, like he's on some high and mighty horse, man. Like, well, and it's always about, well, we can make the play in again. We're gonna make the play in again this year. And what is that getting you? It's not getting you anything, man.
No, it's actually hurting you because you're not able to draft the best possible.
I just call it the play out now. That's what I call it. I call it the play out.
Yeah, listen, we could talk about the culture changing in Chicago. That's fine, but Jerry Reinsdorf still owns the White Sox and the Bulls, and ain't shit changing.
Yeah, so I would say no, the culture's not. But I will say this:
I mean, but
the Cubs are setting a good example of
Kyle
when
was
be
trying to make a
aggressive
point
and
on the
believe.
Sox real quick.
Yeah,
Brent.
so like that
Kyle was
tentative
trying to make a
deal,
point on the
actually,
Sox.
if you get into the language, guys, it's at some point the Sox, and I know this, guys, it could be 8 years, and that sucks for Sox fans, but at some point they are going to be sold. And this is if Reinsdorf's old, guys. If he even makes it that long, they are going to be sold. And if they are sold to the family that's buying the minority part right now, they've already come out and said they want to spend money on this team. They want to flip this thing around. They want that stadium to be packed. They want the Sox to be relevant in baseball. They want the Sox to be relevant in Chicago. I think the White Sox, with that guy coming in, and I always forget his name is very hard to pronounce. I apologize. Sean Burden, maybe you can find his name for me. But the guy who's buying the White Sox, I like him a lot. I think there's a lot of good news for the White Sox fans with that guy coming in here. And then when you talk about the Cubs, I mean, obviously, you guys, PCA was supposed to be a really good player.
His name's Justin Ishbia.
Ishbia, yeah, he's awesome.
But
man. I think
Kyle, this is the guy. Isn't this the guy who wants to move to Tennessee?
No.
This is the guy from Nashville. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but his original plan was moving to Tennessee. Jerry Reinsdorf said no. But Bernard, even if they did, if you're a White Sox fan and you stay loyal to the White Sox if they move, that'd be a better scenario for the White Sox. I mean, they're not doing anything south side of Chicago.
Hey, can you imagine if you're not loyal if they move? I mean, you got to be a Cubs fan.
I know, but your south side of Chicago is not a good. It's just not a good place to have a sports organization.
I just wanted
anybody in this chat, but it's just not. They don't get a huge crowds there, man. It's the demographic is it's not like they have millions of dollars to spend on sports games, and sports games are getting ridiculously expensive. It's getting insane. But if you guys look at the Blackhawks, the Bears, and the Cubs, you could feel the culture change a little bit here, man. I mean, obviously the Bears are entire new organization in the last 3 years. It's completely changed with the addition of Kevin Warren here. I think Kevin Warren is a big part of what's happening in Chicago here. The Blackhawks, if these kids continue to develop the way they're developing.
Let me just say something real quick, Kyle. I just wanted to get you to talk about the Sox so I can go take a piss. That was why I wanted you to talk about the Sox.
Okay, well, do you guys want to talk about the Blackhawks? I just don't know how much you guys.
No, we can talk about it. Hey, listen,
Dustin was making a joke about how fucking brutally
how little I should care or anyone should care about the White Sox. It was just I didn't take a piss actually. I just went to go get some more water.
All right. So the Sox, obviously, guys, are good for me because I'm a bartender. And if the Sox make the playoffs, I make a lot of money off of them. So I always root for Chicago sports to be good. If the Bulls make the, if you guys could have seen the reaction, if you could see the reaction of that Bulls game where Josh Giddey made that half court shot against the Lakers, if you could have seen what happened to that bar after that shot was made, the celebration, the shots. It's insane what sports do.
I don't root against the White Sox. I want the White Sox to be a winning baseball team. I want the White Sox and the Cubs to be in the World Series. I want the White Sox to do what they did again in 2005 and wipe the floor.
White Sox games are fun to go to. Like it's a good field. The food is good. I mean, I always have a good time when I go there.
That red jersey a week ago was fucking.
But the one thing I don't hold against the White Sox owners is trying to get out of that location. Maybe even moving to Soldier Field after the Bears leave. Like I don't blame them. I'm not like.
Oh no, it's a terrible location. It's a terrible location.
It's terrible. Yeah. And then on top of that, you have the Chicago Cubs guys. They're the best team in the NL right now, record-wise. The second best team in baseball. This team has World Series.
Weren't they behind the Mets? Weren't they behind the Mets in terms of record?
Oh, maybe no. Yeah, they're the second in the NL, second in Major League Baseball to the Mets. But it's one game. It's one game. The Mets have one game.
But they passed Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit. I think they've both passed Detroit. I think Detroit had a bad week. I can look it up real quick. But either way, I mean, top three in baseball. I mean, this team.
It's impressive what they're doing.
Who projected to be the Cubs to be top three in baseball this year? Nobody.
And I'm going to say this, Kyle. I'm going to say this because we have so much hope here in Ben Johnson. I was really down on Craig Counsell. I was really down on what they paid him. I didn't feel like you hear that the manager in baseball is the most irrelevant coach in sports, but Craig Counsell is doing things here, and the Cubs got aggressive. They traded for Kyle Tucker, and this is what it takes, man, to be a winning organization. You have to be aggressive, and you have to want to win. Like
and that's the culture.
Reinsdorf just wants to sell tickets.
Vernon, paying Craig Counsell itself is an aggressive move. They paid him $40 million. He became the third,
and he was going to be hired by like three other teams.
I thought that was a good move when it happened.
Yeah, it's a great move. Everything the Cubs are.
No, I did as well. It was after the first year that I started to question, like, how much is this guy actually going to impact?
Well, you got to look at what he had to work with. Right?
And you guys, you can't blame the Cubs for Justin Steele being out for the rest of the season. That's an injury. That's a freaking nothing you could do. If they have Justin Steele and Sho Imanaga have missed. Justin Steele's missed basically the whole season. Sho Imanaga's missed the last 2 months, and they're still the third best team in baseball. Those are their two best pitchers.
You might just be in a world where Justin Steele can't stay healthy, Kyle.
Yeah, I agree. And he's had the same injury recurring for the last 3 years.
But
there you go. There you go. Breaking news, Bruce. Tigers, Mets, Cubs.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think it's one game each, right, Bruce? I think it's one game Tigers over the Mets, one game the Mets over the Cubs. But either way,
but Cade
the
Horton
Mets-
looks to
Still
be
impressive what the Cubs.
yeah,
are
and if the Cubs don't lose their two best pitchers, they're probably number one, guys.
and
They're
Cade
probably
Horton
number one.
looks to be exactly what the Cubs drafted.
Cade Horton looks amazing.
looks like
PCA
he's
is an
gonna be
absolute
on fire
superstar.
here
A
in a
stud.
minute.
Matt Shaw is going to be a really good player in baseball for a very long time. The Cubs are young. The Cubs are primed to win a World Series in the next couple of years. I don't know if they're going to extend Kyle Tucker. I don't think he's worth $600 million. So if they
No, me
don't, I
neither.
wouldn't be upset about it.
Man,
But
I'm good.
this team is
PCA
headed
needs the
in,
money. You
this
give
team's headed in the
PCA
right
the money.
direction. The Cubs are going to set themselves up to be a championship contender. They set themselves up.
PCA is the best story.
Well, yeah,
in
but
Chicago
PCA is
sports.
under contract for till 2030, so you're in no rush to pay him. Kyle Tucker's
Yeah, you
contract
need to pay
is-
Kyle
is-
Tucker.
is-
You
Listen,
expires
I
this year.
love the Cubs. I don't watch a lot of baseball, but watching Pete Crow Armstrong
You guys,
is
he's
an
the most marketable
entirely
person
different
in
thing
sports.
than watching
He might be the
baseball.
most marketable person in sports. He
That
could be the
kid-
most marketable person in sports.
That kid is fucking unbelievable.
You can make so much money off Pete Crow Armstrong.
You know who gets slept on a lot for the Cubs, from what I see, is Nico Horner.
Oh, yeah,
In
Nico
terms of
Horner's a
his
stud.
defensively.
Well, he's
he's
Mr. Reliable.
been unbelievable.
He's
Yeah.
the number one defender in baseball right now, and all the metrics.
And he
You look at
has
all
the highest
statistics,
batting
he's
average
number
every
one.
year.
And if
And he
he's,
has-
and if
He
Nico Horner
continuously
gets,
has their highest batting average every
if he
season.
gets snubbed from the All-Star game, that's absolute bullshit. Because Nico, I know he doesn't hit a ton of home runs. He's not flashy. I get it, but Nico Horner is an absolute stud, and he's the heart of this team. But I'm just saying, like, if you look at the Cubs, the Blackhawks, and the Bears, all three of these organizations look like they're setting themselves up for future sustained success for years.
What are we looking forward to with the Blackhawks, Kyle? What are we
All
looking
these prospects, the Frank Naziers, the Connor Bedards, all these kids coming up, the number one defenseman. I can't say his name because it's one of those Russian names. The defenseman they drafted number 2 overall last year. These kids are coming up, and they look exactly what the Blackhawks thought they were going to be. These aren't, sometimes in sports you get these guys you draft high, and you're like, well, he's like, remember, what was his name that the Hawks drafted a couple years ago? That just
Kirby Doc.
Drew Doc or Kirby Doc.
Kirby,
Yeah, that guy.
Kirby Doc.
That guy
yeah.
absolutely was just
Ass.
disappointment. None of these kids that the Blackhawks have drafted in the last couple of years look like they're going to be disappointment. Alvin Moore looks like he's going to be
Do
really
you
good.
think they got the right coach? Do you think they got the right coach?
That to me, Dustin, is the biggest question mark around this team.
Or is this just a bridge guy? Is this a guy who's just good enough to help
Kyle,
develop these guys,
his
and then
name is-
when it's time to win, you go get the real?
That could be a possibility because the coaching hire was a huge question mark to me. And if you guys have Sean, it's too bad Sean's on vacation because Sean could dig into this guy. So Sean knows everything about that coach. Obviously, the Blackhawks are not as high on my priority list right now
Romy
because the
says
Cubs
bridge.
and Bears are actively. I mean, the Bears are
And the
obviously
Blackhawks got a
number one.
goalie. Don't forget that too.
Yeah, they got
Knight is a good goalie.
Yeah,
And
he's gonna
his
be
name
good.
is Artyom Lashivnov.
Yeah, that's the
The
defenseman they
defensive player?
drafted, and he's already played at the NHL level. I mean, these guys are these guys are moving up faster than I've ever seen. And Oliver
So
Moore's
if
going to
this
be here
was-
all year next year,
If this was NHL like video game, would I be wanting to play with this Blackhawks team?
depending on who they add in the offseason here.
If you were
Depending on
doing
who
like
they
the
have in the
GM
offseason.
thing, absolutely.
Yeah, like where you're trying to bring up and
Yeah,
get those
absolutely.
young core. So you
That-
think that
it's-
that's kind of the position they're in?
It sucks that the Stars re-signed that stud, the guy who had the 2 back-to-back. I think he had back-to-back hat tricks or something in the playoffs. It sucks because he was the guy I think the Blackhawks wanted to add to this roster. I think that's the guy they were going to chase in free agency. And if they added him, we'd be having a totally different conversation. The fact that the Stars extended him was soul-crushing for Hawks fans. But at the end of the day, there's still some really good available players in free agency. I think the Hawks are going to add 2 or 3 of them. And then you're talking about this team being a real contender to make the playoffs next year, and then the year following maybe even be in the championship conversation. And the Cubs are there already. I think we all expect the Bears to be very good this season, if not a competitive team, at least a competitive football team.
Who's the first team, Kyle, to win a championship in this city?
I'd say the Cubs. That's
Yeah,
it.
I mean, if you look at what they're doing this year and the fact that they're competing with the top teams in the MLB,
Right,
and-
but can anyone get over that Dodgers hump? No pun
I
intended.
mean, the Cubs have had the Dodgers number every time
Yeah,
they play
the
them.
Cubs
this year.
compete with the Dodgers. The Dodgers have had more injuries than any team in baseball, man. If they
7-game
don't clean
series,
up these
though, man,
injuries,
that's a
Dodgers
different
are not
story.
going to be in a
Yeah,
conversation.
it is different. And if you're at full health, like Kyle's saying, whereas the Dodgers have been hurt, if they're
And
fully
Otani
healthy-
makes his debut as a pitcher in a week.
Yep.
yeah, that.
So
So I
think
mean,
it's
those,
actually. Oh yeah, is it next Monday?
Yeah.
Is that when he's pitching? Yeah.
And guys, I just want to say this. Listen, I think culture change. Like right now, the Cubs are kind of spearheading this. Like they're already on the upswing. Right, we're hoping the Bears are getting there. The Bears are right there, and it sounds like the Blackhawks are right behind them as well.
Well, yeah, and you know what, guys? I think the culture changed for the Cubs. I think the culture change for the Cubs started with Theo Epstein. And I understand he's gone now, but I think obviously he won a World Series, so obviously the culture changed because they hadn't won 100 years.
Hoyer stayed behind.
Yeah, and that was like his right hand man, and he
he didn't just. And I know World Series is what counts, but the guy went to the NLCS like 5 years in a row.
And then Hoyer had a lot of rocky moments there.
But then Jed Hoyer went and built one of the best farm systems in baseball, and these kids are coming up, and they all look really good. Like for once, we're like, oh my god, the players that the Cubs added are actually really good.
Prospects can be traded for quality players.
PCA was acquired. PCA was acquired from a Javier Baez trade for a rental. Javier Baez left the Mets that year.
Hoyer did take over. Hoyer did take over a team where Epstein just threw everything that he could to win. Like Epstein threw every asset he could at winning. Yeah, and Hoyer did take that over, which takes some time to build.
And Hoyer was he was put in a position where it was going to be rebuild no matter what. You had to get rid of Rizzo. You had to get rid of Rizzo. You had to get rid of Baez. You had to get rid of
Hoyer did something we didn't think was going to happen, Kyle. I mean, I think Jed Hoyer traded to acquire Kyle Tucker in hopes that the Ricketts are willing to pay this kid. I mean, imagine Jed Hoyer's telling the Ricketts, you got to pay this fucking kid.
Yeah, man. It's heartbreaking that Kyle Tucker went from demanding or his camp was asking for $400 million to $600 million. I don't understand the leap there. I don't understand why he did that. I guess
maybe it's somewhere in the middle of that.
Maybe he's just maybe they're he's hoping they meet him in the middle. And I understand
you always go high in a negotiation.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Soto and Ohtani making $700 million didn't help in any situation, in any way, shape.
Yeah, but he's not doing what those guys do.
No.
Here's the thing, though.
You could bring up Aaron Judge and those go. Aaron Judge is what he's doing is unbelievable. I mean, how is this not? There should be the ESPN tracker on Aaron Judge every day. This is insane.
But hold on,
hitting 400. He's got pasted 70 bombs.
Well, you had two players
that paid $360 million.
You had two players at the table here, though, man. And did the Cubs do the right thing? They told Tucker, "We don't think you're. I'm not paying you that." And Tucker bet on himself, and right now, he's not worth what he's asking for. He's now,
$600 million.
He's not.
Oh, yeah. So hopefully the Cubs are beneficiaries of that.
Hopefully the Cubs did the right thing. Like, hey, man, we told you. You
got to assume that a player will regress to the mean of what their playing potential is, and like I said, those numbers will probably be somewhere in the middle. I do want to point out something, guys, that's not talked about much. It's been the lowest rated finals in a lot of ways, but these finals between the Pacers and the Thunder that's going on right now. I haven't checked the score. I'm going to watch the end of the game. Have been really good basketball. I thought it would be a good matchup going into it, man. And the Pacers are just continue to get counted out. But I do want to say, when you're done watching us, check out the NBA Finals.
The Thunder are smoking them right now.
Yeah, and you know that's bound to happen. They had to come back in that last game.
Yeah, I think the Thunder went today. I think
the Thunder are going to win the series. The Thunder are going to win the series. I've never doubted that. But the Pacers are a much better matchup for them, and it's much better basketball than you expected to see. And I just want to say that Nembhard has been the key to this Pacers having a chance, man. He's in SGA's face all fucking
Siakam's been amazing too, man.
No, yeah, for sure. There's just so many cool, scrappy players for the Pacers. Do
you guys think we're going to hear the greatest two words in sports?
What's that?
Game 7.
No, I think. Listen, if the Thunder pull out a massive, but you can just never count the Pacers out. That's the thing.
Especially at home.
What's the score, Brandon? You say they're smoking them. What's the score?
They were just up to. Hold on, it's a live update. They were up 15. Now they're up 13.
With how much time left? It's the third quarter, right?
And it's about our third quarter is coming to an end here shortly.
Yeah. The Pacers still have a chance in this game.
Yeah, you guys.
I cannot count the Pacers out.
The guys, this sounds nuts, but I think when the Pacers are down by 12 with 3 minutes left, they're like, all right, we got them right where we want. That's who they've been.
That's what Tyler Halliburton thinks.
Yeah, but that's flipped in that last game. The Thunder were in that position and they were able to come back, and that was a very good. I mean, all I'm saying is that it's good basketball. Please treat yourself to it. And as Bruce points out, the Stanley Cup has been better, probably, if you're really
Yeah,
if
but
you're,
the
it's been
Florida's just so much. They're so good, man. They're so good. They're going to win the championship. It's not a question.
it's kind
They're
of the same
so
thing
good,
it's
man.
kind of the same conversation in the NBA.
I'm
Finals.
happy, Justin. I put $50 on OKC like week 2 of the NBA season to win the championship. So I'm going to make money if they do. So
Yeah, it seemed like
hope.
fait accompli all season.
And I hate the Pacers because I'm a Bulls fan. So I can't.
Yeah,
watch
fuck the
them.
Pacers. But this team has been fun to watch. This is
for sure.
a scrappy team, and they are a lot of fun.
I heard a lot of people saying 4-game sweep and all this shit. I'm like, man, the Pacers are.
Yeah, I was not on board with that.
And what else is exciting, man, is you go from LeBron James' dominant reign over the NBA to Nikola Jokic, and he's kind of been the guy in charge. And and that's where now
the Warriors in there too.
Now the pages have turned a little bit because between Halliburton, SGA, and Anthony Edwards, you don't know.
And Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is in that conversation.
Well, that's
not competitively this year. Last year, took his team to the finals for sure.
I would say, Kyle, is Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is another guy who's going to compete. Really, he's going to keep his team.
With Luka Doncic on the Lakers, they will make it to a finals. At some point, they will make it to a finals.
I think Anthony Edwards is going to have his team in the finals real soon.
Anthony Edwards might be on the Lakers one day because Minnesota doesn't pay anybody.
Tom Thibodeau being fired after going to the Eastern Conference Finals is hilarious. Tom Thibodeau is just not a playoff coach, guys. It's just the reality of it. He's a guy that beats his team down all season. He never finds enough depth, and you can see what the Pacers have done this season. They found a lot of depth, and it's carried them through these playoffs. And Tom Thibodeau
did you look at
that?
He's that coach you use to build your team.
No joke though. I was giving a buddy of mine's a Knicks fan. I was giving him shit for it. If you looked at the box score, staying on this Thibodeau subject, Dustin, when you looked at that Indiana Pacers New York Knicks box score, the Knicks every game had 8 players. It's an 8-man rotation, and the Pacers were using like a 12-man rotation
10,
to
11,
play against this team. And it's like that's what Thibodeau does. He just beats you to death if you're one of those 8 players on there.
And there have been Bulls fans suggesting that the Bulls should go rehire Tom Thibodeau. It's like, listen, I'm not happy with Billy Donovan, but Tom Thibodeau isn't going to get you there either. He's just shown he can establish a culture, Kyle, which is what we're talking about here, right? He can do that. He has done that for sure.
But I'll tell you this: he had no answer for Pascal Siakam. No answer, because Pascal Siakam won that Indiana Pacers series against the Knicks.
And remember, as good as Kawhi Leonard was, and he was, I mean, magic. But Pascal Siakam in that Toronto series, man. I mean, I did not know what that kid was gonna be.
I think it was like 17.7 rebounds in the playoffs that year.
He turned.
Well, NBA's about to get.
He took the world by storm in that series, man.
NBA's about to get. I can't wait to see Wembanyama with Fox on this court at the same time. Like, I think the NBA is headed in the right direction. They got to don't adopt the flop. I understand that LeBron James has become like the king of the flop, but you can't adopt that because you don't want to be soccer.
SGA has kind of perfected it on the offense. He's taken it to a whole new level in terms of drawing these fouls. It's
I can't believe I'm saying this after this, as stupid as the decision was, man. Anthony Edwards, Kyrie Irving, or not Anthony, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, and Cooper Flagg is going to be one hell of a show on court, man.
We'll see. We'll see if Anthony Davis, if they can stay healthy.
I'm sorry. That whole thing pisses me off. This guy, they trade away Luka Doncic and they get rewarded for it. That's disgusting to me. That shit pisses me off.
Yeah, and they were a play-in team too on top of it.
They need to find a way to change this lottery, man. That's not good for basketball.
At the end of the day, you could say the NBA is headed in the right direction. The Bulls are not. And you can say Donovan can only coach the roster he's given Romy, but like at the end, I just don't see Donovan being a guy that takes your team over the hump. And yeah, he hasn't been given the players, and there's been players that they've missed on and all that. But it's not looking good for the Bulls, and it's not just Donovan. It's AK, it's Eversley, it's
more importantly AK. AK is a way bigger part of the deficiency.
Reinsdorf,
because Reinsdorf. If you fire AK, Reinsdorf's can hire the next GM, so you're screwed.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. You're screwed. There's nothing you can do. You're screwed.
It feels that way. This is the most down I've been as a Bulls fan in my life,
and deservingly so. That doesn't make you a bad fan. It makes you a smart guy.
Romy,
not a bad fan.
We do want to give you a shout out for hanging out.
Pacers down only 7.
Yep, look at that. Before the third quarter ended, they knocked off 6 points off that lead.
Tom G, breaking news, Bruce, Romy, CSP, Ant Mass, There's a lot of people in here. Illinois Jones, guys.
Sean Lugo joined the show at one point on vacation.
Yeah, Carl was in here. Thine Smile.
Ron, our senior.
Ron
Packers.
Winarski, our senior Packers correspondent.
Tom G.
Scottish Bear was in there. Rocket Dream. I didn't see him. I don't know who that is.
Purple Jesus. John
Rocket
S.
Dream's been with us. Yeah, no, we had a lot of people. Vizzo Joe as well. I love Vizzo. So I mean, everybody, thanks for joining us. Make sure you hit that like if you haven't already. If you're not subscribed, I don't know what you're doing or what you're thinking. You can come join us multiple days a week and see us just talk our shit and have fun, and we'll get you involved in the conversation. And Brandon will have some shorts coming out as well after this. So look for those.
Once again, guys, I know that's kind of a downtime in the NFL right now, but we're going to start getting some fantasy, and we're going to do some things here soon. Here, where if you guys go on our website and you all send us your fantasy team after you draft it, we'll pick our favorite team and we'll send you a jersey or something. So we'll get into some cool stuff down the road here, guys. We're still work in progress here, 4 stars. But
are you workshopping those ideas right now on air?
No, I've talked to Lindsay.
We're gonna have Caleb Williams maybe in the future or so.
we will one day, guys. Guys, we will one day. But yeah, I am gonna get this NFL agent on here soon, guys, to kind of break down how the contracts work, why these rookies hold out so long, all that stuff. Break down the legal mumbo jumbo. But we appreciate you as always. Please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching on Twitter, please go over to our YouTube page and hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you so much, guys. Everybody, take care of yourselves so you can take care of each other.
Back
Wednesday,
on
7 o'clock. Barely there. Yes. Thursday, 11.
Brennan's going to make a special appearance. And if one of you guys would be willing to help out on Saturday morning, just to maybe shoot some questions off me or something, that would be awesome.
I work Saturday, man, all day. That's tough.
I can do it. I got to finish a root canal. I can do it after that.
It starts the show's at noon.
My root canal's at 7 in the morning. If that doesn't sound awful.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
I don't know what's going to be worse, the root canal or the North Side 9.
No, we got a lot of stuff to talk about on North Side 9. This week has been interesting for the Cubs, and the Cubs, the trade rumors for starting pitcher are heating up, man. So the Cubs are going to be in the World Series conversation if they go add, like I say.
I think we should do a show. The Cubs were ridiculed for holding out on paying Kyle Tucker. We should dive more into that because maybe the Cubs are smarter than they looked on that decision.
We'll talk about that later, guys. Everybody have a great rest of your night, right? What else we got? Got anything else to hit before we get out of here? River Street. Make sure you guys go to River Street.
Brandon, could you find it? Can Brandon find it?
We got anything
you can find it.
You guys just got to buy me time.
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right.
Fuck yeah.
Let's go. That a boy. Awesome, Booker.
Tons.
There it is.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Now.
Love you all.
All right.